the stuff with guys, whether it comes to, hormones, whether it comes to peptides, it's kind of like the male version of plastic surgery. If you can look at yourself at the end of the day and stand at that person in the mirror and be like, okay, I feel good about this, kudos to you.
We are melting. We are absolutely melting for this podcast. Oh, we started. Oh, right? Oh, look at that timing. That was ridiculous. Oh, wait, bro.
Welcome back. Hey, man, whereabouts are you? On your way where? Okay, cool. How far away? 100% honesty, because Steve's here.
That's why we don't tell Raf 2:30.
No, it was 2:30, but like Steve's coming early.
You gotta tell him 1:30. He always comes last minute. Who comes last for Steve Cook? The biggest guest in the fitness industry. This guy comes late. I do feel a little bit overdressed. What do you think? I just don't want him to react and be like, oh, it's like this. Like, fuck, maybe I should go home and get changed, but we'll see. Oh, there he is. Yeah, see, he's in a fucking purple. Yeah. Purple top. Yes, how long? Yes. Fever, age, body age. Here's my co-host, Raf.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Steve. Raf.
Nice to meet you. That's quite the wall there.
These are like our...
That's some goats.
These are our icons.
That's crazy. Little Rich Froning. So you guys are Froning and not Fraser fans. Can you be both?
Oh, that is a...
Can you be both?
That's a bit of a stretch to say we're fans, but we
Yeah.
definitely...
No, we're Froning fans over Fraser.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, if we're picking between the
Yeah,
two, Froning
yeah.
for sure, yeah. Die-hard Froning. We just haven't dabbled in CrossFit in a long time.
Gotcha. Get the PR team on.
Do you actually go for the Phoenix Suns, or you just wear that shirt because it looks good?
I'm going for him this year. We'll put it that way. I'm anyone but LeBron. I'm a anyone but LeBron.
Really, you're anti-LeBron?
Hate LeBron. I'm a Jordan fan. I'm a
we're
Jordan
not friends
fan
anymore.
through and through.
I think I just fell out with Steve Cook. We haven't even started yet. Fucking hell.
Most of my Twitter arguments are over LeBron versus MJ fan. So we can do a whole podcast just on
I feel like we're
on
talking
MJ
friends.
versus LeBron. We could do it. I researched
I
this.
feel like that podcast has been done a few times.
Yeah, it has. By people
By
that
people who
are-
actually should be
Yeah,
talking about
exactly.
it.
All right, so we've got in the house. Actually, I didn't know this, but Steve Cook is a LeBron fan, ladies and gentlemen. So just
as
so you
I'm
know.
as I'm repping the Suns.
Yeah.
I'm a Devin Booker fan right now.
Yeah, well, he's injured, so
Yeah.
a fan of his right hamstring, but not his left. But no, actually, it's both hamstrings now. Anyway, will he come back? We don't know. But we're actually here to talk about today. We did the React video in case you missed that already. We talked about obviously you're a bodybuilder, or we're a bodybuilder.
Yep. Men's physique, the board short category.
Yep.
Once a bodybuilder, always a bodybuilder.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We react to that. So if you haven't watched that, go watch that now. That's on the YouTube channel. It should be out. But we've got Steve Cook in the house, and we want to talk
In the
about.
house.
I think like what's been interesting, man. I started watching the person that got me into your content his name was Rob Riches. He was kind of like the UK Steve Cook basically.
The OG.
Yeah.
I love Rob.
Yeah. So Rob somehow and then got connected to you.
Nice.
And then so Steve's been around for a very long time.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, and still with a strong fan base.
Still ticking.
Yeah, still going strong. But I feel like a lot's changed for you, right?
So much has changed. Yeah.
Like you are. If someone looked at where you are now, and it's interesting because you've documented so much of your journey, so the
Yeah.
comparison is so dramatic, right?
It
Between
is.
like where you are now and where you were. So, one thing I wanted to start with was like obviously you've spent a lot of time or most of your life in the US, but now you spend a lot of time in Oz.
Yeah. It's like my 13th time in Australia.
There you go. And you've absorbed a lot of the Australian fitness industry.
Yep.
So I feel like you're a pretty good person to comment on the differences between the American and the Australian fitness industry. I'm curious on your opinion because what's interesting about it is there are really big brands like Orange Theory that do so well in America. Like ridiculous, right? It's a full cult over there.
Yeah.
And it fucking flopped in Australia.
Yeah.
Completely flopped. And if you look at it on the surface, you're like Bondi, LA, Miami, same shit, right?
Right.
But they're very different. So like, how do you
I've
see
actually never been to an Orange Theory.
Okay.
So like I might not know exactly.
Just
what
one
they're-
example.
Yeah.
You're not their target market, we got to say.
Yeah, definitely, probably not. But again, I think in the U.S. we have so many people. So first and foremost, I think that's why there's a lot of fitness stuff that does succeed. I think in Australia though, the everyday person, in my opinion, lives closer to the water. So there's already an outdoor element. Better weather, typically year round than a lot of places in the U.S. And then from the very get-go as kids, I know talking to Morgan, my fiance, you guys are introduced at school. You have swimming. You have like the little nippers. Like you guys are just doing things outside, swimming, rugby. Your swimming is a big national. Like you guys always do well at the Olympics at that. So I think the everyday person is more functionally fit in Australia. It's not just about looks. It's a byproduct. I think people end up looking really good in here in Australia as well. They're tan. But I think it's like, hey, everyone generally here is a decent swimmer. And kind of like what we were talking about earlier, they've all been introduced to a variety of sports, whether it's netball for the girls, cricket for the guys. And I just think there's this kind of outdoor lifestyle in Australia because of the weather that's similar to a Southern California or a Florida.
But that's only one very small pocket in the US, whereas you're saying in Australia, that's our whole thing.
Yeah.
Everyone's on the coast.
Yeah.
Everyone's near the water.
Exactly. And all the big cities especially are on really close in proximity to water. And so people are outside a lot more.
It makes sense. I mean, I think the first place F-45 went was LA, right? So if you were to say, okay, what's working here will work in America, by that logic, it's going to be LA, right? And F-45 went to LA. F-45 killed it. Yeah. It's growing really fast in America.
It's huge.
So they set up properly in California, and then they let it spread as they moved out. But maybe if they went straight to, I don't know, New York, or they went to, I don't know, Michigan or some shit.
New York probably would have been a similar thing. I feel like whatever does well in LA does well in New York and vice versa. But had they gone to like Iowa, probably not. Like maybe not, just because group fitness classes I've kind of viewed in the US again started on the coast, and whether it was Barry's Boot Camp or Soul Cycle, all of these group fitness stuff kind of started in LA or New York, Rumble Boxing, and then they go to more of the mom and pop places in the US. So
it makes sense. It's
and maybe Orange Theory didn't do well just because people loved F-45 here, and it's again, that's that group class. So it's like Orange Theory.
Sure, it's just I think there's just a lot of reasons. I mean, part of it is like how well the people that are setting it up here, like how good are they at setting it up? Are they good business people? They might have just picked the wrong people.
That's
they
true.
Just bet on the wrong Australian company CEO, and it just flopped.
It is so weird to me, just being an American on the whole, looking at what companies that have come over from America, why are those companies here, and why have they been somewhat successful? Whether it's KFC, Hungry Jack's, our Burger King, Macca's, like, because in America, no offense to those places, if you like those places, I haven't been to a Burger King 20 years or like KFC ever. We have such good healthy alternatives to fast food. Like Chick-fil-A is my go-to. I'm like, Chick-fil-A would kill it here. Someone needs to open up a Chick-fil-A, and it's just is it that hard?
Chick-fil-A is not gross fast food.
Yeah, no, it's like you get a grilled chicken burger.
We don't have Chick-fil-A.
You can get
we didn't get it. It's not everywhere in the States.
No, it's not.
It's where Florida is. East Coast, right?
It was, but now it's everywhere. It's in Utah. Like they've expanded, and it was kind of like the In-N-Out type thing. In-N-Out kept to just the Southwest. It was California exclusively. Then it was like Arizona, Nevada. Now it's in Utah as well. And Chick-fil-A kind of did the same thing in the Southeast part. It started in Georgia, and then it was like Florida.
But it's kind of healthy, you're saying?
It can be. Now they do have fried chicken sandwiches, or you can just get a grilled chicken sandwich.
It must be like Nando's. Do you know what Nando's is?
Yeah, I love Nando's.
Yeah.
And
same shit.
Yeah,
you can get some gross shit at Nando's. You can get some good shit.
Yeah. It's true, and we don't really have Nando's in the U.S., but I've just been in the U.K., which the Nando's in the U.K. is different than the Nando's even in Australia, which you'd think would be a little. Oh yeah. Do you guys have tenders here? They have different things on the menu.
Oh, but same brand, same company.
Same brand. Yep.
Okay, yeah. Different menus. Different
kind of
menu.
That's
pretty normal.
I tell you what is sad though is if you go, you probably haven't been, but if you drive out into like the less rich, less affluent suburbs of Australia, you will see more of the American fast food brands that like people in Australia don't even realize we have here.
Right.
Because they just target like low socioeconomic areas.
Carl's Jr.
Yeah, like Carl's Jr. is there. People don't even know, right?
Yeah, where have you been in Australia, by the way? Like what areas?
I've been to Melbourne, Sydney, Port Lincoln, Adelaide, Port Douglas.
Okay. Oh, you've been to Port Douglas?
I've been to Port Douglas, Cairns, Darwin,
Darwin's good.
Okay,
Brisbane,
Darwin would be
Gold
one of those
Coast.
places.
I had a bad holiday up there recently, but that's all right.
Where? In Port Douglas?
Yeah.
There was so much money being thrown at people to go to Port Douglas, like when everything opened.
When did you go to Port Douglas?
About a month ago.
Oh, fuck, okay. I was going to say, it sounds like almost, I missed you by a month.
It was crazy. We golfed on a golf course that had saltwater crocodiles that were actually in the waterways. There were signs everywhere like, if you hit your ball here, don't go after it because there's a saltwater crocodile that could kill you. I was like a 4-meter croc. And I'm like, this is different. This is different than an American alligator.
Yeah, the thing I just didn't like about Port, and I'm so sorry guys from Port listening to this, but I want to lie on the beach. I go to the beach to lie on the beach and go in the water. You can't do it. They won't let you. They're like crocodiles, stingers, like stay out of the way, stay over. You can't just lie on the beach and get a tan.
It is kind of, you're like, what? And that's how I felt when I was in Darwin. Yeah, Darwin or Cairns even. And it's like, I can look at it, but I can't touch. That's not cool.
Yeah, that's what makes it rough. I'm not looking at my text, by the way. I'm just trying to remember some of the stuff I had written down for us. But one thing I did want to just wrap on this point, the Australia, well, it's probably not going to wrap the point. We'll keep going. But you have a gym in the US.
Yep.
What area is that in?
In Utah. So we're about 2 hours north of Las Vegas.
So how does that kind of compare to an area around here? Is it because it's kind of an outdoor city, right? Utah? Not really?
Yeah. Well, Utah being the state is very outdoors in general. Like northern Utah has a lot of skiing. I always tell people like Utah's a gym that's been now since COVID has been found out. It's one of the fastest growing places in the U.S. Zion's National Park is 30 minutes from where I live. There's lakes, Lake Powell has part of it in Utah. So it's a great place for.
Is it near Colorado or same?
Yeah. It touches Colorado.
Okay.
And so again, that outdoor vibe is great. Even more so in the southern part, I think, because you got the Red Bull Rampage, which is mountain biking. Like it's just, you got Moab for like crazy Moab.
What's that?
Moab's like super red rocks, and they do like Jeeps and like Broncos and like
we don't have that shit.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's a very outdoor. Like I have a big old Polaris, and then we do like a sand buggy, and we go out there and we just mob in the desert. Yeah, it's a really good place if you like outdoor stuff. So I'm 2 hours north of Vegas, and our gym is, I would say it's a little bit of a mix between like we have a functional fitness, CrossFit space type area that you can do that stuff, and then we have the traditional bodybuilding.
No classes.
We don't do any classes. No, we have a couple personal trainers that are allowed to do their stuff. We just don't have the space for class.
And do people come for you or they come for the gym?
A little bit of both. I think if people are coming up to do some of those outdoor things, they'll come in and say hi. But I think there's a lot of local people too that are just like how it's quiet.
And are you interested in like, I want to make the most of this gym, or you're like, I just like to have a gym, it's sick, I can film content?
Yeah, we started it as a way to like, hey, we want to have a space that we can film for our app, because you go into any, we go into any gym around here, it's like, why are you filming? Yeah. The other people in the gym don't want to be filmed, so we started a spot that we can film in.
Yeah. And just to clarify, you're saying we, like, I imagine Steve Cook's the face of a very big company, or a lot of moving parts underneath it potentially, not just Steve Cook, obviously there's behind the scenes.
Yeah, people. So I have a business partner that came from the CrossFit space on the gym, and then also on the Fitness Culture app.
Yeah, cool.
He's a great guy that really knows his training, has his master's degree in exercise physiology, doesn't love being in front of the camera all the time. So it's a good, like, we sit down when we're writing a program, like we have a new Summer Sizzle challenge coming up, and we kind of go back and forth on the programming, on the nutrition side of things, and then we have a whole team that kind of, whether it's marketing and film and stuff.
It's interesting because like you're like the first generation of like big personal independent brands that haven't been helped by like a record label or like a full media. Like you've had to build personal brand business from scratch, right? And like obviously stuff comes into it like gyms and apps and all this sort of stuff. So like what is the kind of layer underneath there that people don't always see? Like how's the teamwork? How many people have you got, if you want to share any of that stuff?
That's a great question. I think, it's kind of always flowing, but so on culture supplements, I have a really good partnership with some people that are more or less fulfillment on that. And then, so it kind of goes brand by brand, and then Fitness Culture and the gym is Jake. And then obviously with the Gymshark side of things with my line and things like that, I have people that I'm reporting to there. And then Apollo and Sage is Morgan and I's swimwear company that we started about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, cool.
That we really want to make that our kind of our baby that, we build out the whole team for. But, all being said and done, it's not a massive team, maybe 10 people on different areas, on different projects. But I really, during COVID, like life just became kind of crisis mode in terms of when you're separated from your significant other. And it's just like, gosh, like people have looked at my life the last couple of years and like, oh my gosh, you have this amazing life. We traveled because we couldn't be together. We met in Dubai and kind of did some traveling around Europe and then back to Mexico. And it was great. Like, I mean, not a lot of people have this opportunity to just go up and travel during the middle of a pandemic. Since it was the only way we could see each other, we were like, hey, we got to do this. But it got old quick. Like, I'm a routine guy and I haven't had a routine in 2 years. And I'm just kind of like, you know, I want to get back to that.
Yeah, that is crazy hearing you talk about all that. So it is fluid. Like, how do someone like you, like, I think you've done such a good job at protecting your personal brand for like such a long time. I see so many influencers move through the space and the spotlight, and I think so many of them just make really bad decisions, whether it's like start a really bad business, have a bad business partner, or like do an NFT, or like their content just goes in the wrong direction or something. They don't stay true to themselves, or loads of different stuff, right? Or like they just partner with a supplement company, which is just, you know, it's just fake rubbish.
Right.
How have you done so well to protect it? Like, what?
I think for me, it's been more or less about, at the end of the day, like, money can't be your driving factor. And I think a lot of people start making money, whether it is, you know, it could be OnlyFans, it can be whatever it is that you're doing out there.
He's thinking about it.
And and all of a sudden it's like, because there's always those athletes that jump from one ship to the other, to the other, to the other.
That's
and
kind
they've
of what
been
I'm
with
talking
like,
about.
4 different clothing brands and 4 different supplement companies. Right. And for me, it's like, I'd much rather have quality relationships with people that I work with. And at the end of the day, if I didn't believe in a brand in the first place, I wouldn't want to promote it. So if I do believe in a brand, hopefully it's a long-term commitment because I believe in the brand. Like and that's even with the supplement company, like you'll never catch me doing a fat burner. You know, like protein powder is just an extension of a diet. Creatine, a pre-workout, and trying to get the best possible ingredients for that. But, you know, you see a lot of these growth hormone or, you know, like testosterone pills that you can take and things like that. I just think, at the end of the day, you know, I'd much rather be here for a long time than a short time and try to just make as much money as possible. Yeah.
And that's, I guess that's the philosophy behind the companies you also built yourself, which is like obviously a big transition. People don't realize like launching your own supplements is very different to just being the
so
ambassador.
much harder.
It's not even the same. We're not talking about the same game here, right?
Yeah, it's
totally different.
So much different. And that's probably the other thing too, is like you can do too much too fast. Like all of a sudden it's like, okay, you get your fitness brand, your app. And I do think I kind of look at people that just have like one thing and they live and die by that, and that is why they wake up in the morning, is to do that one thing. And I can really appreciate that, because I do think all of a sudden your brand gets watered down when you're like, hey, check this out. Hey, check this out. Sure.
Do you mean like promoting one thing, or they're just working on one thing?
No, promoting one thing. Like, you know, like Nick Bear, for example, he's a guy that I really appreciate. He
runs the Ironman and shit. Yeah, dude, freak.
Yeah, and obviously he's doing YouTube, but like his main thing is his
Nick Bear,
Bear Nutrition and that's like, you know, like I don't know.
It's supplements, right?
Yeah, it's supplements, and I don't know if he has, you know, any other. I'm sure he does some promotional work, but he has a podcast. And I think he has a couple things, but like he's got his main thing, and I think that's kind of I respect that. And now that we have the fitness app, like it's taken 6 years to build our app to where it's at. And we have
6 years.
Yeah, and we've been doing it for the last 6 years. It's because it's not like we don't send, like we have 6 different programs that have years of programming built out. It's not just like a cookie cutter program, like
right.
And so everything that we've done with that has been just a labor of love, and you know we continue to do that. But now that's kind of like, okay, this Morgan, she lives in a bikini. I love board shorts. We do travel a lot, so it's like, hey, you know, let's a swimwear company would be fun for us to do as a project, as a couple, as a passion project. And I think, you know, I love fashion enough to feel like, you know, maybe down the line it could be something that like I'm showing up to work every day, you know, doing this, building this, because, you know, at 4 o'clock I'm on the golf course and I want to rock an outfit that, you know, I created and have fun with it. So
I'm good friends. I like Steve Cook a lot more now after that statement. Yeah. So I think it's cool to be in a position, because I have a partner who owns a business as well. So like the main thing Raf and I do, like we have this podcast, but the main thing we do is Locker Room. So Locker Room is like our super exclusive high net worth gym for like business leaders in Australia. So it's like only 100 spots. It's like
Love that.
really expensive.
We talked
super
about
cool.
doing kind of that model.
Okay. Yeah, so
that
it's like,
exclusivity is powerful.
dude, it's amazing. Yeah, and so like we just conceptualized this concept about 2 years ago, and then like navigated through the pandemic, and built this amazing gym, which is going really well. We've only got like 30 spots left in less than a year, basically being open. But I think it's been nice to have that one thing, because we were juggling a lot of balls at one point, and there is some strength in just having that very narrow focus. But I do think that you can make. I think it starts with one thing really well. Yep. And then I think right at the end, then it can expand very quickly and work well. But I think in the beginning, like for example, do you know the Full Send guys? Yep. Yeah, the Nelk boys. So like I've only become a fan of them recently since they launched their podcast. But what I've learned about their story, like Connor, for example, is how long you following them for? How many years?
2 years.
2 years. Like what's incredible is like they built their whole thing off the back of just apparel. Yeah. They did like their clothing line and they nailed it. I think they're doing like 75 mil a year US right now, just in their apparel. But then everything else, right?
Because off the back of their show. They didn't have the apparel before.
No, so they had the YouTube channel where they just did pranks on people, right? And that's how they got really big. And they built like a hardcore, like college audience. And then they launched clothing to them, which is perfect, right? Because you got to know if we're going to double down on this one thing, it's got to be the perfect thing for our audience. And all their people want to do was rep them. Right? Fucking Nelk boys for life, right? Do you have any of their apparel, by the way?
No.
Okay. Not
a diehard fan.
Not a super fan. Okay, so excluding him. But anyway, they built up this really strong thing, but now they're doing so much stuff very quickly, right? They did alcohol, they're doing like NFT, they're doing tours, they're doing gyms, and they've done all this in like what I imagine if you were a Nelk Boy fan from the beginning, it's like they just did apparel for ages. But I've come in at this time, right? Because this one thing is so successful and so well resourced that it gives them so much cash to play with and opportunity to go like, okay, if we do this, it works. If we do this, it works. Because they can just throw $3-4 million into the project straight away. It's not like we're spread so thin. We've got pennies over here. Can we do this thing? And it's like interesting watching them now because their team has just gone. I reckon that's probably like 3 or 4 of them in the beginning, and now for like 5 or 6 years, and now in the last year, I think it's like 50, 100
They just
people.
have grown. That is really a good point. And as long as they're passionate about those things, it's great. It's like that, and that's the biggest thing. Is like if NFTs you're super passionate about them, I can't wrap my head around them, so I'm not like out here promoting NFTs.
I think part of your success is like. I think that now you are doing more things, but it's like because it's Steve Cook, you've built up the brand at that point. But like in the beginning, you couldn't do 50 things. You know what I mean? It's like you just focused on like the training and the supplements.
And that's a great point. I wish I would have, because I got to the YouTube game early in comparison to the other fitness world.
What year did you start?
2000. What do I want to say? 2010ish.
Whoa.
Yeah,
that's very early.
Right,
and for fitness.
Exactly. Yeah, there was like only like 2 other fitness guys at the time, and so. I wish at that time, like, you never, looking back in hindsight, you always have so much more perspective. But it's like, I was out there traveling the world for Optimum Nutrition. Great partnership. Love those guys. But I didn't have anything that was my own. I had my YouTube channel, but I should have done an apparel company or, like you feel like you're going to be around doing stuff for forever. But it's like when you have a passion about something, people always ask me, like, what would you do differently? I would follow my gut instinct, and where I have passion, let that energy flow there and start something that's your own. Because my partnership with Optimum Nutrition, I was supposed to have my own line with them. And all of a sudden one day it was just like, we can't do this. The rug was pulled out, and it was kind of like, shit, I just gave you guys 7 years traveling the world, 12 expos a year. Granted, it was a mutual beneficial relationship, but it was like, dang, like I felt like, people would ask me all the time, like, do you own Optimum Nutrition? I was like, no, I wish, but you give your heart and soul, and it's like all of a sudden, so I always tell people, like, have something that is yours that you're also building. Like, you can do other things, but what is it that you want to wake up and do in 15 years and still be passionate about?
Man, I think that's great advice, but like, I also think to myself, because we have guys on our team, right, that work for us, and it's like, it's like 2 sides of the same coin in some ways. Like, follow your passion, do this stuff, but it's also like, come build this amazing team with us. Yeah, and it's not yours. You know what I mean?
So that's a good point. I think the difference is that the world I was in with YouTube, like I was putting all my time in YouTube on Instagram, so that audience was there. Like I had the audience. I was bringing my audience to Optimum Nutrition.
Yeah.
You were bringing the inflow. You weren't packaging boxes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So a little bit different in that, like, I didn't come on to Optimum Nutrition as a salesperson and wanted to build from internally. It was like, here, I'm bringing my audience to Optimum Nutrition. that's more or less what I'm talking about. If you have eyeballs, do something with those eyeballs when you can, while you can, because you're not gonna have eyeballs forever.
Yeah, like, is that something you think about? Because like obviously you've always been the guy that looks the part, right? Like, I don't know how many teenage boys want to look like Steve Cook at one point, but count me as one of them at one point. But you know, eventually people grow out of it, right? And eventually Steve Cook's not going to look like he did. There's going to be the next Steve Cook or whatever, and there probably is already, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So how have you wrestled with that, like just internally?
I think for me, it's more about, okay, because again, life happens. We all grow. What is it? And now it's kind of going back to, well, I wouldn't mind growing a company on the inside rather than being the face for it. What does it look like? Whether it's Apollo and Sage, to go out and source, talk to manufacturing, talk to marketing, and kind of be the pulling the strings behind the scenes. Or again, we talked about doing a podcast where you have experience, talk to people about that experience, bring people on that you've networked with over the past 10 years and help share their stories. And more than anything, I think it's just shed light on lessons that, you know, you can help younger generation kind of navigate. And if there is advice on like, hey, if you're a young influencer out there and you are making a ton of money because X, Y, and Z is paying you this, that's great. But what is going to be there when they leave? Like,
long term.
Yeah. What is your long-term plan?
You know, I've noticed though, it's not like, sometimes you think like, oh, when you get to like 55, no one's going to care anymore. Yeah. But I was watching like Ronnie Coleman videos in his YouTube channel, and you know, it's probably not like it would have been,
right?
But he's still very popular.
Yeah.
And people have nostalgia. Like, man, I would love to hear Ronnie Coleman, more so than a 20-year-old bodybuilder that looks better than Ronnie does now. But
and just the stories that Ronnie Coleman has because of that experience.
But I think to your point, I think the real way to stay relevant as you get older is to have a business that you're not necessarily the face of, right? Which is like being a CEO or being the head of some area of the business, the visionary, right? That's still involved, because that's like, that's your mind, right? Like your body will eventually not be the thing that sells things, but your mind will become more valuable over time. So in like some ways the body declines, but the mind like increases. So I think that anyone that has experience is I think more valuable in some ways.
Yeah, but I think like, not everyone's cut out to be the CEO. Some people are really cut out to make amazing content.
That's true, but they doesn't mean you're a good CEO.
That's a great point. And to that as well, it's like you can still grow your own business or be a great family person, but all of a sudden your content is pivoting and changing a little bit. And maybe now it's like, okay, you have a family YouTube, or you have a YouTube that you are traveling on, or you're just doing more vlogs. Like I know I've been doing a lot more vlogs this past year because we've been traveling so much more. But it is like kind of like one of those things. I think what's tough is like when the passion's not there, what do you do with that? Totally. And that's what's difficult.
That's exactly where we ended up with this podcast, right? So we did this for, what's this year? 7th year?
2014 we started.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we've been doing a while.
You guys have been doing podcasts since 2014. Yeah. That's next level.
Dude, that's how
you know it's a long time. People are like, whoa.
The first sponsors we brought on, they're like, what are we paying for again? What's the podcast? We're like, oh, shit.
That is so great.
Trust us, it's going to work. Yeah.
Trailblazers.
I mean, we just listened to Joe Rogan like back before he even had 100 episodes, the two of us. And we're like, do you listen to Joe Rogan? I listen to Joe Rogan. We're like, let's do a podcast. Anyway, but I think what had happened was with us was like the fitness industry, because we went so hard into the CrossFit world. We had like 3 CrossFit gyms. We're like competing as CrossFit athletes, like did all that stuff. It's like anything that got too granular with health and fitness, as we kind of evolved and became like more business people, we just like didn't want to talk about anymore. Yeah. And we kind of got to a point like a year ago, probably not even that, where we just sat down. I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. Yeah. Like I just can't keep making this content. We need a pivot. We need to do something else. And we were, because of Locker Room, more well-resourced. We're like, all right, new studio, like new equipment, new guests, new direction, like new style of content. And like, even he knows, because he's been producing the show for like 2 years. He's like, the energy and like what we're doing now, it's like so much more exciting. Like
the passion's been flipped back on something, and it's like you can talk about things differently because all of a sudden your whole, same with YouTube. I was so tired of how many times can I do a bicep video, and the collabs were always fun because you're bringing new energy on. But it's like, you know, when, not to say that I don't love training and will still, you know, make that kind of content, but it's not like training videos every single day. I want to do more things and explore new things. And it might be, you know, again, like I think this medium of social media, I think, is a great one because if you can have people that are invested into what you're saying and just sitting down and talking to, this is the easiest thing for someone to do. You're not trying to kill yourself in the gym. Yeah, it's true.
The most sustainable.
Just sitting on a couch, you mean?
Yeah. Like, and that's the beauty of Joe Rogan is like, and half the time you're not even listening to it for him. Like, you love that he's bringing people on and how he's able to navigate the conversation. But he's just there letting someone else talk and being like, wow, that's crazy, man. Yeah. And you're like, I love the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I feel like the Steve Cook content that you would get into in the beginning is like not necessarily the Steve Cook content you would want to stay.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I've kind of seen him do all the training bicep videos. I'm like, but that's why I'm lucky I get to have Steve Cook on my podcast to ask him. But there's like so many unanswered questions, like how big's Steve Cook's business team and like what's his future and how does he feel about content now? And that can only come out in your own content through long form.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like long videos, unedited, which is why I think like that pivot that everyone makes. I mean, I was listening to Logan Paul talk about it today, right? Arguably probably one of the biggest influencers, not the biggest in the world.
And to watch his trajectory, it's just been nuts.
And he was talking about this, right? Because he's got the podcast. And he's like, this is the thing I want to do till I'm dead. He goes, this is like my therapy. This is like everyone gets to know me. And it's like it's built a better and a more loyal fan base. Because his other stuff is so short and quick, and it's you don't know or learn anything about him. Same with the full send guys. So it's like, not that I would give Steve Cook a lesson on content, but I'm just saying, like, if you had the Steve Cook podcast and it was really well produced and it was like just really down to earth, I'd be like, fuck, I listen to that every day. You know what I mean?
I love that. I don't really feel like there's anyone. There's some good like hardcore fitness podcasts out there.
But that's not the podcast I think people would want. They know that. They know like your rep range, but you've done all that. But like what else, like who's just Steve Cook the guy? You know what I mean?
I want to bring on people like Bryson DeChambeau. I did a YouTube. You're a golfer. Did I get that? Did I catch that vibe?
I do like golf. I kind of played it a little bit, but I know who he is.
Yeah, so we did a YouTube video together, and I'm like, I just want to sit down with this dude because the same thing. You got to working out with him. You're like, I see you on TV. And like the misconceptions really that people have about you, but when we started working out, I'm like, he's just that dude that he's trying, he's working, he was so easy to be around that I was like, man, people got this guy all wrong because I think sometimes when TV puts you in a little box and they only show you playing one sport and you don't really get a long form content, I'm like, I'd love to just interview you and talk to you because people would see how down to earth you are.
Okay, so. Pop quiz in your head quickly while you're at home. Yep. Who got the biggest influencer deal of the last, say, 10 years? Like in terms of a single monetary payout, who closed the biggest deal in all of like content creation and influencing?
Not fitness, anything.
Yeah,
anything.
Oh, jeez.
You know the answer?
I know the answer.
It has to be a makeup person, James Charles, or maybe a Paul brother. I don't know.
What's the younger Kardashian called?
Oh yeah, I mean like Kylie because she's got Kylie's Cosmetics.
No, she created her own thing, separate. Okay. I mean, just a brand deal that got down. Like basically another company saying to you as the marketing top of the marketing, going, what are you worth to me? That's what that's saying.
Is this influencer going to be someone that's? They're going to also be a little bit mainstream.
Right? Not in fitness.
No, it's mainstream, right? Yeah, it's mainstream.
It's so crazy what the word influencer is now because even you see people that are influencers, but now it's like they're on the red carpet as well. It's like
that's what I'm
the
saying.
celebrityness of influence. Yeah,
it's leaking together.
Yeah. So, I'm dying to know.
So I could be completely wrong here, but this is
Did you not fact check
the biggest one. No, I did not fact check this, but this is the biggest one I know. It's Joe Rogan. Spotify
of course.
paid him $100 million. Yes. I think it was more. I think he's letting on. He's like, you think it's $100 million? That's hilarious. I think it was more, right? So.
It's a great
point. But they bought the rights to his show.
Yeah. No, but
it's just stream on Spotify.
He lost the rights to send out his show.
No, he could send out clips on YouTube. That's
But he can't release his show anywhere else. Right?
So but it's limited. So he'll get his IP back at the end of the deal, right? But the point is, right? Why did he get that biggest deal? Is because think about his type of content. What is it? Yeah. It's the longest. It's not even long form. It's the longest. Yeah. It's 3.5 hours. Yeah. 5 hours. What did he do with Jordan Peterson? 5 hours or whatever recently. That's what we really want as people. We're sucked into the cheap, short, shitty stuff, but we stay and we become real fans. And that's what Spotify understands for the long stuff.
100%.
Like someone that wants to listen to you for 3 hours versus 3 seconds, it's different. It's different.
It's
You're
also
so
how
right.
many ad breaks you can get in 3 hours.
Well,
Part of
and
it. That is part of it. No, it's true.
It's true. And why
Yeah,
it's so funny how on podcasts ads are so much more acceptable to listeners just because they've been conditioned to think that. I come across an ad on YouTube and I'm like, goodness.
You don't have premium?
Yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't.
No, but also on Spotify, you can't get out of the ads.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true. People are used to it, right?
No,
Doesn't have premium.
guys,
that's fucking hilarious.
I wait and then
Oh
I.
my god.
That's good.
This
He's
dude's got-
budget conscious. That's good.
Well, I want to pay people
He's
too.
He's got. How does YouTube? How have you not given Steve Cook a premium account? He's got given you 1.8.
No, that's what
They,
we
they
found
gave
out,
me a
though.
trial.
Oh,
period.
that's
No,
so
premium.
good.
You still get money to the creators. What it
Oh, you
said in the
do?
book, right? Yeah, I think they
Gotcha.
split some of the money.
I can't
That's
believe
so-
that.
You can
That's
feel good about
crazy.
yourself on premium.
All right.
Dude,
all right.
is that-
we gave you some money.
Okay,
Watch
best
this.
Here we
part
go.
about premium, right? You can switch off the screen, put it in your pocket, and keep listening. You can scroll Instagram. You can send messages. You
Interesting.
can do emails.
To that point, though, you are like I always told people like, hey, yes, you see, because we would talk about this all the time with Optimum Nutrition or brands. And like, this person has a big Instagram following. What do you think? You think we should sign them? Do they have YouTube? Gymshark won in the fitness space when they started signing YouTubers. They were the first brand that went out there. All these other companies wanted these big bodybuilders who had a lot of following on social media or were well known in the space, but no one really was super engaged with them because, again, it was I saw a picture of them. I saw them on a magazine cover. I knew who they were, but I didn't know who they were, if that makes sense. Gymshark went out there and started signing YouTubers, and all of a sudden, their brand blew up because people were invested. And you're right. Like, if a 12 to 15-minute YouTube video trumps in comparison to a 3 to 4 hour podcast now. You know, when I do eventually do podcasts, I don't think I'll probably be doing 3 to 4 hours. I can't imagine. Unless you're high and just time's going so quick, it's just kind of like...
That's cool. You can do that too. No, yeah, I agree. It's interesting. So, like, what is your content strategy, or what? I guess for now it's like you're on the road, so there's no routine and structure like we talked about. So I imagine there's not a lot of strategy. It's just kind of
just showing life, honestly.
Yeah,
it's
get
like,
out what
we're
I can.
getting married. We got engaged in Santorini. It is what it is right now.
Yeah.
And I've said this to Morgan. It's been a battle, and I'm just the U.S. government right now, and the Australian government right now. No, we're at the mercy of everything that's happened in the last 2 years, waiting to get her into the U.S. Once that happens, it's kind of like, okay, where do we want to live in the U.S.? Then we want to set up our lives around that, and really get back to that routine. And I mean, like, I'm one of those people that I love traveling, but I've never missed a routine like I have in the last 2 years.
How big do you think you need to be on social media to have sway with the U.S. Immigration Department?
I much bigger than me. Joe Rogan, maybe. Hey, so Joe Rogan needs to help it out. But yeah, it's like I reached out to a congressman. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, can we
Any
get...
luck?
No, nothing right now. So
it's like, go do some fucking sit-ups.
Yeah. He follows me too, and I'm like, hey, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
I'll support your campaign here. No,
I'll repost.
I do like his.
For
I messaged him because I liked his stance on stuff and everything. But yeah, this was on Twitter actually. So
yeah, right. No, that is interesting. I feel like the direction your YouTube will go once you get like a routine and stuff will be good because you've gone through like such a big evolution in a time where you maybe couldn't get it across as much in your content. Yeah, you know. But like, what stuff do you think you're missing in your strategy? Like, what was a good strategy maybe used in the past, or what are you seeing now that it's like, this is really what I want to do, this is what like I'm passionate about?
When it comes to YouTube, it's a series based. It's like I've always seen the best growth and the best engagement when I was getting ready for a bodybuilding show or getting ready, like Nick Bear, for example, when he gets ready for a run, and I think it's kind of wearing off. Like you hit your peak because everyone's like, oh, this is new. This is like, I'm following this series.
3 hour marathon.
Yeah, you're going to be right. Yeah, but now, okay, I saw you do a marathon. Now you're just doing a longer run. Not as exciting. Yeah. So it kind of wanes a little bit, but then it ebbs and flows. So it's kind of like, and that's where, you know, again, I dated a girl a long time ago whose brother was massive in the YouTube world. He did a vlog every single day for 4 or 5 years. Eventually, some things happened and he stopped doing YouTube. But to see that kind of stick-to-itiveness, but like he just vlogged his family, and I'm like, man, like to not think about what content, like you literally just turn on the camera and you're you in this heightened sense, like that's a fun thing to do. So it's kind of like the Jake Paul, like those guys, like that people don't realize that content takes a lot of work as well. Like
heaps.
It's not like they're just running around LA doing crazy things all the time. But like for me, it was. Do you guys remember Fantasy Factory with Rob Dyrdek.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yes.
Robin Black.
What's his
Robin.
TV show?
Yeah, Robin Black on MTV.
Wait, do you know Fantasy Factory, Connor? Oh fuck, bro, that was the show.
It was
so good.
It was the guy like Rob Dyrdek. He had somehow connection with DC Shoes. Had started his. I don't know if he was a part owner, but it was a skater that was a really good businessman. He's from Ohio, weirdly enough. Like the Paul brothers are from Ohio too, but just built this life that he wanted in LA, and he was wealthy and like. But MTV, it was basically vlogs, like really cool vlogs of what they were doing in their day.
That's right.
And like that reminds me of what the Pauls or what some of these other YouTube guys that are growing are doing now, and it's just like their life, having fun. Yes, you need to create the content and still do things, but.
Is that what you're thinking?
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love to set up home base, have a family, have a home gym, have like a gymnastics pit for Morgan, and have fun. And again, we still need to do certain types of content, but whether it's series based content of like, hey, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna, I love the collaboration side of things again because. People love just seeing two worlds collide. They're like, oh my gosh, I followed that person, and now they're together. So cool. But I do think that it would revolve more around more of that lifestyle content.
Do you know a British YouTuber called Joe Delaney in the fitness industry?
Yeah.
Shred Bundy.
Yeah.
His Instagram. So we had him on, and it's been interesting because like when we got him on in the same holiday. So we had Rob Lipset on, the Irish guy, and then Joe Delaney. They were traveling together.
Yep.
We got them on at separate times, and when we brought them on, I think it's like probably 3 or 4 years ago. Both absolute fantastic gentlemen, by the way.
Yeah.
Love them both. Rob was a lot bigger than Joe. And what was interesting is I think I saw Rob put a bit more investment into Instagram at that point. So he's like, I'm writing Instagram a bit more. And Joe, by the sounds of it, like when we're speaking to him, he was kind of like a bit, I don't really know what I want to do. And I think he was known for his vlogs, and he was falling out of love with the vlogs. It's just like too tiring. And what's interesting is he pivoted his content probably like a year after that. So like for the last 2 to 3 years. And it's been interesting because he has fucking gone basically from like flatline to crazy peak. And he made a video. It was like, I'm never vlogging again. And he just said a video why he's not doing it. And he's only doing like this new content. Connie, can you even bring it up so we can
He went from like Ibiza holidays to more like
it's just like
training and like day in the life sort of thing.
Yeah, but like very Jeff Nippard.
Yeah.
Very that style of video.
Oh, so very
educational. Lots of pictures, animations and stuff. And
Interesting.
he does one a month now. And that one video that he'll perform,
How do you spell his name?
Joe Delaney.
Yeah.
So it's very well thought
Well,
out.
that's
Everything's researched.
Yeah, so he spends like a month building it, and that he's getting videos that get like 3-4 million views, and he put out a vlog a day, and they do like 20,000-30,000.
Yeah.
And so like people, and for him it's way more sustainable because you can tell that he's more enthusiastic, and it's not all about moving around the whole time. He can just sit in front of a computer and just talk through a whole thing and structure it like a narrative. And it's not always about how good he looks or anything anymore, and so much about his body.
It's not this guy, right?
No,
It's more about the
He's much more
educational.
jacked,
Just put
but-
Shred Bundy.
Not sure about me.
How do you know? I thought. Yeah. Anyway, but it's just been that's him. So it's just been like an interesting evolution with his content. I don't think the last few have done pretty well. I think he's experimenting a little bit. But if you go down to like,
Oh, he is doing the Jeff Nippard stuff.
like some of that stuff is getting. There's a few with 1 million, right? Where are you?
796.
No, go up to the top and then just go to sort by. Yeah, most popular. And then I think the last few, so a year ago, 1.7 million. A year ago, 2.1 million.
Yeah, I see what you're
A
saying.
year ago, and before it was all vlog stuff.
Mm.
And I think what you learn about YouTube versus Instagram is Rob got into the headspace of like, and obviously I'm just theorizing here, but Rob got into the headspace of like, I need to create lots of short, sharp, snappy visual content. And it helped him grow on Instagram. But the problem is that the platform worked against him. That platform became very complicated to grow and very difficult, as maybe I'm sure you've experienced in some capacity. And Instagram started limiting a lot of how you reach people. Whereas YouTube's always been like, if you create content that we like and it's high quality and people like it, we'll push it out to everyone. There's no like limits to how many people will push it to.
Well thought out thumbnails, well thought out titles.
And so he's got way more strategy, like way more effort per video, and like way less videos, and it is performing way better. And so I remember because how many subscribers he got now?
500,000.
Yeah, so when he did that podcast with us a few years ago, under 100,000. I think it's like 75,000 subscribers on
Good
YouTube.
for him.
He's also got a absolutely beautiful home gym.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's interesting to just to hear your thoughts on where like your content's going.
Yeah.
And to see other people do it, because I think, the fitness niche is interesting because it's like we all have an expiration date, or to some point it's not. 100%. I don't want it to always be about the same exercise.
And that's my thing has been like, I've been like, oh, I have to do this type of content. Like it has worked in the past. Why would I not keep doing it? No, it's like because people can feel when that passion is no longer there. It's like those videos aren't fun to watch. Mm-hmm. So this is a great way of, again, like being meaningful, being direct, and like I love that idea of almost making it a presentation. Like this is like something you'd present to school almost, like 7 healthy and easy smoothie recipes. Like what?
Yeah.
Like again, you wouldn't think that that's crazy, but 1.7 million, like it's simple, but it's well done.
School.
Yeah,
it's definitely not in school, but it should be in school.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is like interesting how if you're more thoughtful, more strategic, you stay relevant enough with the new type of content, but you just do it in a different way. It's like that one, you've grown 500,000 subscribers, and you've put way less content out, which I think is ultimately the name of the game. I think is to put out
the least amount of content that
for
you
the
can
biggest
still
return, right?
Best bang for your buck.
I mean, maybe people disagree, but
it's just interesting because then you have David Dobrik. You know, do you guys know David Dobrik?
Yeah, the YouTuber. Yeah.
Yeah, he puts out 4 minute and 20 seconds, and it's just complete randomness of like his week. Like you watch a David Dobrik video and you're like, I don't know what I just watched. There's absolute 0 points to that video, but they all are, and it's so short, and it's like, okay, like, and this is where I think sometimes it's easy to look at this person's having success doing this person's having success doing this. You have to be like, okay, what is it that I want to do?
Yeah.
And that's been the same thing, even in bodybuilding. What is it that I want to look like? What is it that I want to train for? What is it that I'm willing to take or not take? And that should determine what it is that your content looks like, or what it is that your physique looks like. Whatever it is I think too many times we let these outside forces kind of dictate. And I'm just as bad as anyone when it comes to like content. It's like, maybe I'll try that. And then you do that for a while. Or maybe I'll try that. It's like, what do you want to do and that's sustainable?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like also that, how does that intersect with like, what does your audience want to hear from you? Because if you're like, dude, all I want to do is review Eminem albums.
That's
like,
true.
Okay, but your audience doesn't give a shit about that. They want it has to somehow still relate to, you know, why we came here originally for Steve Cook. That's why I think a podcast would be a great fit for you. Which I think would be really interesting.
And it's so funny because you're right. Like on Twitter, I got so political during the last 2 years. And so many people were like, yo, why are you talking about politics? I'm like, shut up. Joe Rogan does it. I want to do it too.
Yeah. So pivot a little bit. You mentioned what you're willing to not do and also not do. We ended up in CrossFit. So, I mean, people feel differently about the rules. So we decided never to cheat. But then since finishing up CrossFit, we've experimented with different things, like something recently, which we've shared with the audience before, is peptides. Like I had like a really bad ankle injury. And like obviously the regulation around, you know, you can get access to the same medicines through a doctor here that you can in the US, just a lot harder here. You just have to know.
That's what I've heard.
People. Yeah. So it can be done. It's very easy. And we've got great doctors that work with us, and like it's all blood work, it's all legit, pharmacies, everything. And I rolled this ankle and it like just wasn't getting better. And I was like doing all the rehab, and the rehab numbers were improving and everything. And I was like, you know what? We ordered this stuff in, we did the blood work, and I was like, you know what? Let me just try it. Right. It's like, looked at all the research I could do on it. It's all FDA approved medicines, blah, blah, blah. Great. I couldn't believe the difference it made in my ankle. Like it honestly shocked me. I thought, and then I had this revelation in my head that I was like, your whole life, you've been conditioned to think performance enhancing drugs were bad because it was only in the context of sports where people were cheating. But hold on, let's look at it a different way. What if we can take this technology and put it into enhancing human life? I'm like, why? I was struggling to walk some days. I'm like, that's a real decrease in my quality of life. If I'm walking, I have to get somewhere on time, and then my ankle gives out and I'm on the sidewalk. Like, fuck. And it's been 3 months since the injury. I inject this peptide, which is, as far as I can tell for now, fairly healthy.
Was it a peptide that had its traits that were supposed to help the ankle?
So it was one that was affects the pathway of the pituitary gland to release more growth hormone.
So
it's like a healing one. But like the main stuff that it's for for like anti-aging, for like skin, like it's like a beauty one, but it's like also for injuries. And I was like, man, there just needs to be like more conversation and like more understanding and research around like how all these drugs will help us enhance our life. Like Derek from More Plates, More Dates, I'm sure you're familiar with him. I think he's done a few videos on you about being Natty or whatever.
But good old Natty videos.
But But he talks about it. He's like, he has a company, Merrick Health, which is all about reading your blood work and like optimizing through hormones and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, this guy's great.
Has he got a video on Steve?
I think he does. Yeah.
Oh, did you go find it? Let's see, Connor.
You might just in the search just type.
Just not in
Steve Cook.
you can do it in his search.
Sorry,
in his
he's got it.
That's right. That's cool.
He's got it.
Yeah, he's done some great videos.
But my point is like he is.
Oh, you got it. Well done, bro. That's sick.
There we go.
Yeah, that's how you know you made it.
That's
bro.
sick. Yeah. You haven't watched this?
I haven't watched that one.
Bro.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Well, we're gonna watch it later.
Yeah.
But anyway, but my point is like, people that would watch this video, right, of him talking about like Steve Cook being on like TRT, even if you are or you aren't, I know you came out and talked about some stuff.
Yeah.
But
I've tried those peptides. Is it tesamorelin or
this
ibutamoren?
one was ipamorelin.
Okay. Yeah.
CJC.
Yep.
Combined together. But it's like, it's like bodybuilding. You won't test it in that thing. Like it's not cheating. So why do people think it's bad? If it comes out, yeah, I used performance enhancing drugs. Like I didn't cheat anyone. It's like, you know, it's.
I think we're moving into a new space where it's like when I first came into the fitness industry, it's like the natty or not conversation was crazy. But now with peptides, there's so many things out there like that are is this natty or not? I think it's more importantly like if you're not competing, if like it's different if you're in pro sports and you're like I'm not on anything, but you are. If you're a CrossFitter and it's like no, I don't take things, and then you do, yes. Yeah. And I think that's where it's like I competed in natural bodybuilding where it was polygraphed and urinalysis for so long. The reason I stopped competing is like, okay, I don't want to take the things that I need to take in order to compete on that level. And I think that it was one of those things that...
But you said you were in natural bodybuilding.
Not men's physique. Right. This was beforehand in natural bodybuilding. And all of a sudden it just became like, again, in that world, in the Olympia world, you know, the girls are on things.
Everyone
is.
How
it's
can
just
you
like
compete?
It's just one of those things. It's if you're going to be at that level. So it's like a personal decision. I never, you know, I think for most people, like I even look back at the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa in the Major League Baseball days. It's such a hard thing because we as a society, that was when baseball was most fun. Is when people were seeing 60 to 70 home runs hit a year that were out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
You're telling me Major League Baseball didn't like that?
Yeah.
But it was like, okay, this is bad, but it's good. You know, same
bad. Keep going.
Right. Same thing. And like in the NFL, I think a lot of times, like anytime you have massive amounts of money on the line for things, you have people that, you know, you have a poor kid from the inner cities or, you know, some, you know, farmer kid that is going to have to go work on the farm or be in the inner cities, or they're going to make millions of dollars. And like you said, those things work. That your ankle, it worked. Like we know they work. You're going to tell a 21-year-old kid, oh, if you do that, you know, it has to be a personal decision. Now, again, when we start talking about massive amounts of money, it's difficult because you're always going to get people that are going to be like, okay, the risk outweighs, you know, or what could be outweighs the risk of it all. And that's why for me, it's like, no problem if someone wants to do that. I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, like, what are you doing? Are you in a federation? Are you saying you're natural or not? So
yeah, but I feel like it's a personal decision. But I guess I'm making the point now that it's not necessarily, and please, for God's sake, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think it's as much as a safety issue as people think anymore, right?
I agree with that.
You know, like people thought, okay, as soon as I cross this line, I'm like jeopardizing my long-term health. And I'm like, it's been long enough now. Yes, there are certain drugs, and black market is like definitely the entire black market, right?
Yes.
But if it's prescribed by a doctor now, which is pretty easy to do, and it's regulated and it's safe and it's from a legitimate pharmacy, like I don't think it's an issue of safety anymore. I think it's actually an issue of like how much can you enhance yourself?
Right.
You can go wrong with a doctor though, right? There's
you
good and there's
you
bad
can,
doctors.
but like there's enough info out there and there's enough doctors out there now. It's just like you kind of know when it's like, wow, that sounds really cowboy. Like I think you should still do some of your own research going into that stuff with resources like Derek. So it's like if a doctor prescribes a certain amount, you're like, whoa, hold on. He just said in a video that is like a fucking crazy amount. This is like the wrong doctor. So like maybe an X or get a referral, right? Speak to someone who's used someone good and that they trust and they're not dead. And they look great. Well, not dead is probably a bad market judgment, but you know, their life is better, right?
But that being said too, is like how much of our lives are we like men's testosterone is on the decrease just because of plastics or the hormones in chickens.
Not sleeping.
Yeah,
iPhones
exactly.
in bed.
Like we live in a different world now where our natural GH or our natural testosterone is lower in a lot of ways. So if it is like biohacking, there's a difference. What you're talking about is more biohacking to me. I think the guy that is the recreational guy who's abusing steroids, getting it on the black market, hey, like if you can look at yourself at the end of the day and stand at that person in the mirror and be like, okay, I feel good about this, kudos to you. And that's a personal choice. Like we can't judge other people on that, but I think that's where it comes down to is like if you're the health markers are a great indicator of that. If you care about health and you're doing blood work and everything like that, I definitely think what you're talking about, the biohacking is where we're going with that is just crazy right now.
Well, yeah, I think although I agree with that term, I don't like it because I think it makes people feel like I don't want to do that. But I'm like, I agree it is biohacking, but I'm also like, well, if you did this, your quality of life would be better. You know? Like Joe Rogan, I think, has been responsible for that with two things. Cannabis, obviously, firstly, but also stem cells. Like these are two basically fringe biohacking medicines in some way. If you think about cannabis from like a health perspective, like using it for treating illnesses or treating inflammation or chronic disease or whatever, like it was fringe right back then. But I think he's been responsible for a big push into like making that stuff more mainstream to talk about, right? And it's why I think the speed of the recreational industry and the medicinal industry have like really sped up. Like I don't know if you know now, but you can get a medicinal license how it was in America or whatever 10 years ago, where it was just like I'm a little bit anxious in the mornings. They're like done, prescription. It's that now in Australia. They've got that now.
And here's I'm more of a kind of like I would say Joe Rogan politically, being more independent. Like I want less. I don't want government telling me every little thing I have to do all the time. Like I kind of like being as long as you're not infringing on someone else, like your body, your choice type of a thing. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, if a person feels good about the decisions they're making with what they're putting in their body, it's like telling someone they can't eat organic or telling someone they can't get a certain plastic surgery. I mean, I think that's kind of what we're realizing with a lot of the stuff with guys, whether it comes to, you know, hormones, whether it comes to peptides, it's kind of like the male version of plastic surgery for a lot of guys out there. And even better in some cases, like on one side of the spectrum it's all about health, on the other side of the spectrum it's all about aesthetics. That's a, you know, that there's a lot of in between on that, to where it's like, okay, like you can optimize your health and you'll feel better, which will then help you look better. And so it's kind of like this cycle that you can get in.
What would be your ideal if you could just like set the rules for Australia? Would it be you just go to the doctor and they say, you obviously don't need this because you're fine. Right. But if you do want to get more muscular, here's the downsides and we'll prescribe it if you want to prescribe it.
Well, and that's the hard thing though, is like, because I think you'll find a doctor that says you don't need this or you could benefit from
I'm
this.
saying you don't need it. Like you're okay. You're not, there's no illness here. This is just purely like you just
would you say
enhancing your life, optimizing your life?
Yeah, if you say like I want to be optimal. Because, like, you know, when it is one of those...
When you say optimal, you mean, like, more jacked is what you actually are saying.
Yes and no. It's like, but
like
if...
energy...
Yeah, it is one of those things, like, when you hit a certain level with age and everything else, and you're traveling...
How old are you now, Steve?
I'm 37. So it is like one of those things, especially with traveling. Circadian rhythms play a massive role in just about every aspect of life. And so for me, it's like, I don't want to take a bunch of... like I don't need to be jacked and huge anymore, but I want to be able to sleep better at night. I don't want to be irritable. If you're telling me that testosterone can help me out with that, or a peptide that can help me out with that, like I want to listen to that because I want to be the best version of myself. Again, I don't want, like, you know, for me, I obviously made the decision that it wasn't worth being jacked on that level, so I stopped competing because I was like,
thank God.
I don't think it's going to be healthy for me. Because there's always that, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. I'll be happy when. And so many competitors do that. And I think that's just people in life. I'll be happy when I reach this milestone, when I make this much money. You never are. If you're not happy right now, you're never going to be happy when you hit those things.
And the risks just go up exponentially.
Yeah, I mean I think we're seeing a lot of bodybuilders right now that have died during COVID. Obviously, you know it's like you can't say it's because of this or because of that, but I do think that you know clearly when you start taking copious amounts of things, your health risks go up.
And that amount of muscle mass as well.
It's true. It's true.
But you would put a level at way below competing much more in just like the recreational bodybuilder that you think is like 100% safe?
No. I'm not saying that either. Like I'm not a doctor, so I can't say what's safe and what isn't. What I'm saying is when you look at blood work, like we did this every day on set of The Biggest Loser, like, or not every week, people did blood work. And if you're borderline diabetic, you take XYZ for it to help with that. Or when we make sure the diet is you're eating certain, we're not going to be super high on our fat right now because your triglyceride levels are insane. And so I think that there's things that you can do, whether you're if your testosterone's super low and you're an old enough person that you're not going to get that back, or if you're on a peptide and you're talking to your doctor, I think those are things that if it's a reasonable, like, hey, the risk versus reward, like you taking those peptides with your ankle, like you're not going to do that for the rest of your life. So I think that
I feel pretty good, so maybe I will.
But I do think, like, obviously receptors too. It's like we talk about downgrade and upgrade of those receptors in our brain and in our body, and all of a sudden you can, just like any drug, I think that, not necessarily with peptides, but you can always kind of burn out and need more and more and more and more. And I think that obviously with testosterone, that can definitely be something that's like, you have a little bit.
It's a crutch.
Yeah. And then when you do get off of it, you don't feel the same way.
Yeah. Man, I think it's just a combination of, like, I think about it a lot, and I'm a big realist about this, like seeing a lot of people and working a lot of people at our gyms and stuff. And obviously a lot of our clients are very, very wealthy. And I realize, like, there's always sacrifice with whatever you do. And I think a lot of the time it just eats into your health. And what I mean by that is, like, if you were prioritizing health and optimizing for health, which obviously we love to say we do, the truth is it's probably not our number one priority. Our number one priority is probably like either our family or our business, right? Yeah. And so there is some sacrifice because you're like, no, I want to, like, push myself a little bit harder in this, like, stay up late, do these extra calls, like send these extra emails, open this extra business, whatever, push a little bit there. That really is the priority because, okay, I'm going to miss a little bit of sleep here. Probably not going to get this meal in. Might forget a bit of water. I'm not saying that's like, it'll be a drop in 5% for guys like us, right? But in people like our clients, it's an 80% drop. Right? They don't care at all about, because health is still really important to us. It's definitely not number one. It's still really important. We maintain it at a pretty high level. But we know what it's like to also have health as the number one priority. And it's like that level is like, you think about your ranges of testosterone and IGF-1, all that stuff. That's the peak of those levels because you're not sacrificing sleep. You're like taking all the supplements. You're doing all the routine. Like, we know what it's like to have perfect lifestyle centered around health as being optimal and how you can feel. But because our priority is business, right? Well, I'm speaking for myself. It's business. Like, to close that gap, to get up in that range again, I realize it just can't come through lifestyle. It just can't, because where am I going to pull it from? Right. So for me, I'm like, okay, I could rehab my ankle faster potentially, but I have so much to do in a day. I'm like, I kind of just need this process to speed up and get it done. So for me, it like takes mid to low range stuff, and it just for periods of time boosts it up when I'm like, okay, I'm pushing myself a little bit here, probably sacrificing on sleep. I need more energy through this period. Cool. I can go up a little bit under the supervision of a doctor, enhance myself so I don't lose on that side, and I can kind of rev at a higher RPMs, but I know, okay, it's going to have to come down. Right. There's going to be a period. We're going to pull everything back. We're going to take a holiday. We're going to chill. We're not going to do any of this stuff, and it's just like, I think if you can ebb and flow like that, ultimately, I think it's the best combination. I think it's the future. That's what people are doing now.
I do think that because it's just not black and white anymore. And I think that even with COVID, I've seen that, like, who really is making decisions? Like, because we think black and white, like this is right, this is wrong. Like, if caffeine was illegal as a substance enhancer, would we think, oh, that person's on caffeine, that's wrong?
It'd still be sitting in a cave.
Right. Like, what I'm saying is like throughout, we always are kind of going to ebb and flow with things. And like in the early 2000s, it was, whatever McGuire and all those guys were taking to hit those home runs. It wasn't steroids. It was pro hormones. It was just, genetically altered a little bit. So I'm saying, like, we're always going to have things that are, there's always going to be those gray areas. And I think ultimately it's like, okay, is this about health? Is it not about health? Like, are you planning to doing this forever? Are you doing it with a doctor's supervision? There's so many things out there that you need to ask yourself. And that's why at the end of the day, if you can look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, yes, this is making me a better person in all aspects, not just in this area that I really want to improve in right now. Is it worth it to me?
Yeah, look, I think that humans are just heading into a future where everyone will take something to enhance it. So it's like we can sleep 5 hours or whatever. And this is just theory, right? But we can sleep 5 hours and we got extra 4 hours of productivity and more energy, and we can progress, because the human race is just always progressing, right? In all aspects. Obviously there's ups and downs and stuff, but ultimately we're always progressing. We're getting smarter, like getting better tech. And I think this is just biotech, right? This is just the field we're stepping into. We're just on the forefront of it. But in 200 years, of course, everyone's taking the peptide, because why would anyone wait 2 months for an injury to heal? We can heal it in 24 hours. You know, I think it's like that. It's like, why would anyone sleep 8 hours? We can sleep in 4 now. We've got this drug, or, you know, that's just the way it's going.
And I already think, you know, behind closed doors, can't prove this, but in pro sports, we're seeing athletes coming back from torn Achilles tendons in like less than a year.
The Russian gymnast, you see that this year?
No, what was that one about? I'm talking about the LA Rams running back. Actually, he came back better than ever, and it's like
who was it?
I forgot his name. He was the starting running back for the LA Rams.
Okay.
Even like you look at someone like LeBron James at 37 years old, playing that many games in the NBA, looking the way he does, carrying around that much size. We couldn't do that 15 years ago.
No chance.
Like,
particularly the longevity.
It's not natural.
The modern medicine, and you don't know.
I don't think for a fact it means it's not natural.
What's that?
I don't think for a fact that means that it's not natural. I think a lot of things have improved.
Gotcha.
To help this. Or would you disagree?
Well, I don't know, bro. I done a fucking lot of high level proper rehab, and like I stuck one fucking cycle in. And
but I mean, also when they had more drugs in sports, it didn't mean there were older players in the sports. It just meant people were different, they performed better.
I think better drug protocols, better like dosages, better doctors, better understanding of the how to use those things. Whereas before, when it first started, you hear Arnold talk about it. We just took a handful of fucking Deca and we just ate it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think, you know, if we were to look at, you know, LeBron James's protocols of what he's doing, like it would obviously best athlete, arguably
of all time
in our lifetimes in terms of athletic ability, not basketball.
Like way
ability.
better than Jordan.
But what LeBron is on paper, like he was built in a lab, like he's like so crazy. But to have that kind of long, like he's also getting the best sports science. Now, when we say not natural, there's so many things that aren't like blood doping, and I'm not saying that's what LeBron did, but when we start talking about all of these recovery therapies that people try, sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber, that's not natural, but people do it. So it's like there's so many things out there that are labeled like not, is it natural, or like there's so many techniques and things out there that I think people are getting into. It's like I remember talking about with Ronnie Coleman, a trainer in LA that knew, I won't say his name, but knew Ronnie Coleman, and said back in the day, like, they were messing around with myostatin inhibitors. Myostatin is...
Oh, that's the thing they took the cow? Was it the cow that didn't take it or something?
Yes.
And it turned like...
So myostatin is basically what inhibits us from having just crazy, crazy muscles. Some people don't.
Right.
There's there were theories out there thrown around that, like, Ronnie Coleman was messing around with his myostatin levels. Now, whether that's true or not, who knows? But it's like, that wouldn't have been steroids. That's totally something freaking new that we'd never even thought about. So it's just like there's always something out there that people are going to be dealing with in the name of longevity. And again, we see it at the highest levels because that's where the most money. Like if LeBron can play, there's way more people in the seats, way more money is made. It's like that's $1 billion industry now.
Yeah, there's just so many things you can take now that you just can't. There's no like line that's natural.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Obviously, Phil Heath not natural and this baby's natural.
Right.
But you can't tell in between.
Right.
Who's natural and who's not, because there's so many different things you can take.
So many things, yeah.
Well, CRISPR's like that gene editing technology as well, right? So you can just literally be like size 32 waist, like wide shoulders, like Steve Cook's arms. You just have like a whole combo.
Really?
Like yeah.
This is a thing.
Well, look, it's illegal to do it in humans, but they're doing it in like animals, and then apparently in China they've started it as well.
Oh, of course.
Dude.
Well, you'd know when they start it, because then you see the Chinese Steve Cooks running around. I don't think they've got
We're just seeing
bro.
6'4", 230 pound, 4% body fat Chinese people everywhere.
But that's all right. That's what they want. They want to run the world. But anyway, so we're gonna go into a trending topic, which is I feel like it's a broad topic here. There's a lot we can touch on, and it's pretty important news. So Connor, why don't you intro this one for us?
Yeah, cool. So lots of It's probably started, I think, a few years ago. Elon came on the board for Twitter. He had some creative differences, wanted to change a lot of things. There was a pushback. And he came in, I think he offered them, it was 44 billion or 43 originally. They hit back, they said no, but then they came back and were, I guess, like considering the offer again, and looks like it's going through.
I think he's getting a bit fat, Steve. What do you think?
That's a bad photo of Elon.
It is a bad photo of Elon.
Yeah.
He is for sure on peptides. He's on something. There's no way the dude can operate at that level and not be enhanced.
I mean, again, like what we talk about, what is natural and what isn't. Like he would be the first person in line, or he would be the one developing a mind altering or a mind performance substance that would be like, what was that movie with Bradley Cooper where he takes Limitless.
Yeah. Sick movie.
MDF or whatever. What is that?
Whatever they call it.
NDFT. No, what was it? Too many.
Whatever it is, not available.
Yeah,
if you can not real. If you can remember that, fuck, that's impressive.
NZT.
NZT.
Yeah. So like it's like, you know, we're just seeing Adderall is another perfect example.
Yeah.
Is that if you take Adderall, are you natural or not? Like there's people out there that abuse like that. Nicotine. Is. Yeah, it's just so crazy. So it's like it is. Where do you draw the line on this kind of stuff?
I just think
crazy story.
Where people draw the line is like morally, the moral line for most people is like pills and needles.
Yep.
And then I guess in some ways it's like how much performance benefit you get. But then I'm like, what the fuck's the point of any of this stuff? It doesn't work. Like, what are we doing here? Either you do it or you don't. Yeah. It's like all this in between stuff. Does it really make that much of a difference? I don't know. Fuck. Let's just skip the peptides.
And you're right about like if you're specifically doing something we were saying, I won't take this in order to compete, and then doing it, that's obviously morally.
Well, I just think like hyperbaric chambers, saunas, ice baths, all this stuff, right? Which we're kind of calling in the gray zone.
Yeah.
It's like where it's okay because we're like not piercing the skin or going inside the mouth. It's like, but we're trying to do the same shit. We're trying to heal you faster. We're trying to recover faster. We're trying to like improve performance or whatever. But I'm like, it doesn't really work compared to the stuff. I'm like, all it does is cross one barrier, which is like the skin and the mouth. I'm like, guys, get over it. Like, let's see fucking sport. You know, let's see what we can fucking do. Let's all feel better. Let's get injured and come back twice as fast. Like, how are we not investing in this? It makes no sense to me. I don't know why there's pushback because I guess cowboys just delay things, right? It's what happened with psychedelics. Same thing, right? A few cowboys out there and the government was like, cool. You want to do that? Like, we'll fucking ban it forever. Yeah. And it took like 40 years. Now it's coming out. Oh, it turns out it's really good for therapy and it turns out for all this stuff. So I hope that doesn't happen with hormones and stuff because it's got so much potential. But, you know, cowboys can ruin shit. Definitely ruining shit here in Australia for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
It does seem like us.
Steve, say you got this. Say you were the Elon. What changes would you make to Twitter?
What changes would I make to Twitter?
We don't use Twitter, so.
Oh, you guys don't? It's not really big in Australia.
It's not big here now. I know what it is.
I'm massive on free speech. I am massive on the idea that you might not like what somebody else says, but Twitter platform right now to me is garbage in the fact that you have independent fact checkers that aren't independent at all. No one's independent, like especially when 98.7%, I think of what it was, of Twitter was of a certain political party, of a certain outlook on things. We weren't getting independent fact checkers. So,
is it an algorithm? They feed you certain tweets?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And so
just rating it.
Just over, like I do think Twitter was very slanted. And so I think anytime that we can come along and just be like, the only way you can have true freedom of speech is to, like, obviously there's a difference, like, and the tough thing is like, oh, that's hate speech. Everyone's definition of hate speech is going to be different. Like, how do we, like, I used to think we had a clear definition of that. Obviously now it's like the world has changed so rapidly and so fast. It's like, I don't think that, you know, you should ban somebody on Twitter just because you didn't like what they said.
Yeah. You intelligently contest their ideas with words.
That's the best way to really combat false information, fake news, is to give them real news that makes sense. You see some crazy headlines these days about like, conspiracy theories proving true is becoming a problem for future conspiracy theorists. And it's just like, wait, what?
I'm sorry, you lost me, right?
Yeah, it was like, wait a minute. I was like, I had to read it again. It's like, because these things are becoming true, it's becoming a problem for what people are now more skeptical of other things. Yeah. It's like, that's the point.
Oh, I get you, because they're actually turning out true. People are believing more and more conspiracies.
And it's like, yep.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
And so I think Twitter is, I'm excited. Hopefully, people are so worried that a billionaire, is going to be coming in. It's like, wait a minute. Most things that you touch in life are owned by a billionaire.
Yeah, well, Jack was already a billionaire.
Yeah, well, and not to mention like Amazon, control, like Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. Like there's billionaires that control a lot in our lives, and I think a lot of people just have a problem with Elon because he is kind of that freedom of speech.
I love Elon.
I do too.
I fucking love him.
I know, and I'm just like, I hope he doesn't do anything that is going to make me regret that. But I'm kind of like, I've always been skeptical of government in general. But yeah, it's like out of all of the billionaires, we'll say, like, Elon is my favorite.
No, man, I couldn't agree more. I think censorship is like the most slippery and dangerous slope that any society can take, right? Because the thing is, why the mainstream aren't worried about censorship right now is because they're not being censored for anything, right? And so they don't realize. But some people who are outspoken, they are being censored. That's why they get upset. But for example, if you put out a tweet that was like about, muffins or something, and then the platform just decided, you know what, we're a cakes channel, not a muffins channel, and they deleted your account, banned you, then you'd be like, what the fuck? Now imagine that happened out every single part of your day and every platform, and you realize at some point, I just can't post at all because whoever's controlling this doesn't like me and doesn't like my ideas. Like, that's an awful feeling. And I think that just because that really hasn't happened to a lot of people yet, no one's upset about it. But it has to start somewhere. It's not just going to happen all of a sudden overnight. Like, censorship's a very slow thing, and then all of a sudden you're living in Nazi Germany, and it's like they're controlling everything.
I think it's happening faster. It was happening faster than people knew it was happening. It's
happening right now.
With everything around the pandemic the last couple of years. It was, and obviously if you guys are fans of Joe Rogan, you've heard so much on there that I think, again, at the end of the day, freedom of speech protects everyone. It's not like, and that's what Elon, I think, has done a good job of coming out and saying, like, hey, I hope my critics stay on Twitter because they'll see that you can bash me and you can say anything you want, type of a thing, and still stick around.
That's what he says now, bro.
Yeah, right. Well, and I think you'd be called out. I think that, it'll be something that it's just crazy that it took this. It's monumental. I think it'll be crazy to see what Elon does with Twitter. But just even the bots were annoying on Twitter. And
we don't use it, so we stayed off it. But yeah, I agree. I think we just got to be real careful with censorship, man. I think it's like a very, very dangerous path to go down. I just don't want to see us end up at a point where we just can't say certain things on the internet anymore. Like that's an awful place. I don't want to live in that place.
No, definitely. And it's in censorship. Even its cousin, I think, when you report slanted news, like in the U.S., unfortunately, like Twitter became this place that so many people went for news. If it's not unbiased, then we're really changing people's perception of things. And this has been proven in a book, Outliers. I think Joe Rogan had on the author of that book,
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah. They talk about how two candidates back in I think it was Nixon and the guy who was running against, when they appear on TV, and just basically how the news portrays them has massive effects on voter outcome, on things like that. So I think when you get really truly unbiased news, that's when everyone wins. And I don't think it really has been that in the past 2 or 3 years. So
has any of your stuff been like blocked or kind of like not fed to the algorithm because you're talking about like drugs or something with fitness? This is not a thing.
If it would have been all political stuff. I was pretty, I think, outspoken with COVID stuff because, even with Australia, I was like, because I had so many Australians, I couldn't get into the country, and sometimes I'd voice my frustration, like, COVID's not going anywhere. When you guys do open up, COVID will be there. Yeah. And people are like, I can't believe you're saying that. Look how bad America is. And it's just like, I think people in Australia were fed this very different picture of what was going
how bad
on
it actually was
in America. Like, oh my gosh, 500,000 deaths. It was like every time they could chalk something up to COVID, they would.
Dude, we were way more scared.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't, but like Australia was way more scared.
Right. So scared. And at the time, everyone I know had already had COVID and gotten it, including my 94-year-old grandpa. Were there some people that I know that died? There's 2 people that I know that did die. One was a neighbor of mine that was elderly. Another one was a healthy 58-year-old guy that
I know a young guy that dies. Yeah.
So it's not like it's it can't happen, but
it's not
the real information wasn't quite as scary as I think as most Australians thought it was, and that has massive effects on people when you see something like that and how scary it is. And so, I think
that's a good point.
It's just crazy. I think that we are living in a time right now where we're seeing all of this fold, and it's been like hypercharged because of a pandemic. And so censorship and things like that have have all of a sudden maybe what it would have taken 5 or 6 years has now taken 2 years.
Yeah. Well, one thing that scared me the most though is like I listened to Sam Harris's podcast, and I think it was right around all this like censorship stuff. He was talking. You know who Sam Harris is?
No.
Sam Harris is like a famous author. He's Jordan Peterson.
Yep.
Kind of like Jordan Peterson,
Gotcha.
but I think Jordan's like hyper focused on like men and like all
masculinity,
all the
things.
issues to do with like young men. But Sam is much more broad, and he talks about, he's known a lot for religion. In the beginning, he'd be very harsh on all religions, like Christianity and Islam and all this stuff. You'd love him if you like Jordan Peterson. Like Sam, Sam, I think is in the academia space. I think he's number one. I think he's the god. He's like the goat. He's been on Rogan a few times. When he talks, like he's good friends with Joe Rogan, and he's talked about their conversations about censorship, and he's like doesn't share the details, but he's like, I gave Joe some very strong words in a very friendly way as mates about his position on the vaccine and how I think he should change his tune and like open up. So when Joe started, I think, pivoting a little bit with like getting on like, okay, this anti-vax person, but then this pro-vax person,
Right.
when he started doing both sides, Sam had a big reason to do with that, I would imagine. Because Joe would look at a guy like Sam and be like, I really respect you and what you do, and like I'll take your advice on. But anyway, one of the things that Sam said was like, we battle with our words, because if we don't battle with our words, what comes next is we battle with our fists. And that's like not the world you want to live in, where everything's settled through violence, right? That's where we came from.
So true.
So he's like, words is our only defense against each other and bad ideas and good ideas. But when you start taking away people's words, what do you think is going to come next?
Oh, I don't think you could probably, the mob mentality, if you just take away someone's right to express a whole opinion of a group, that'll eventually boil over.
Yeah, you'll get how many people were at the Black Lives Matter protest in LA? Was it
Bro,
100,000?
It was crazy.
Was it 1 million? No, it wasn't 1 million.
It had to have been close.
I think it was like 1 million.
Yeah.
Wow, dude,
well, it
that
looked like
is
the one in Hong Kong. There was 1 million.
fucking
Like you couldn't see any ground.
Right.
It was just people.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out in a sec. But yeah, I think it's interesting what Elon will do in the future. I'm excited to have like hopefully a trend back towards more free speech, because it was all heading towards like more censorship, and then all of a sudden we wake up to news of Elon buying Twitter, and you're like, dude, this could be we're saved in some ways. Like we're not heading down that path. Like we're reopening it. So if the floodgates really are open,
It's one for us.
I'd love him to buy more, because they're doing it on YouTube, as not as hardcore as Twitter, but anytime you mention COVID, like people in their videos, they go that happened last year.
Yeah, to stop saying it.
If you say that,
and that was, and my story views anytime I mention COVID were way lower. Like they definitely, and so I hope actually Instagram, Facebook kind of see what's happening with Twitter and realize like this is the direction we want to go, more of a freedom of, because people feel scared about, I guess, this idea of being censored.
Yeah. 100,000 protesters, by the way, in Black Lives Matter, which is, for the time, crazy, because everyone's locked down, right? So that was
but it was the whole country, right? That's just Hollywood.
Yeah. No, I'm talking. I was like just in that, because I saw that photo of LA. Was it? Is it Hollywood Boulevard?
Yeah.
That they took it down. No, what's this?
Lincoln Boulevard.
Lincoln
What was it?
Boulevard.
Lincoln
I
in
think
Santa.
that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, the one with
I know exactly where that's at.
the one with Logan's gym.
Lincoln Boulevard.
What's that gym called?
Deuce Gym.
Deuce. Have you been there? Deuce Gym.
He owns that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Logan
that.
Gelbrey.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought you were still. Yes, I've been there. Yeah.
Do you think we're also talking about Elon?
I thought you were talking about. No, I thought you were talking about the Logan Paul.
Oh no,
You said
sorry.
Logan.
Yeah. Lesser known Logan Gelbrey. Yeah.
And look at even like the headlines, like anti-police, like, and that like
yeah, it's too much.
it really
Anything for the
like
click.
And that was where it was just the perfect storm of we were all bottled in together. The news outlets were just basically shaking red and black ants and wanting people to go at each other. It was just so crazy to sit back and just watch that and feel like the world was just out of control. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
So our next section is we're going to do some gym fashion tips. I'm very
Okay.
personally most excited for this part because I have Steve in the house. But before we do, Steve, give me your opinion on Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg. I want to know your opinion.
I love Mark Wahlberg's movies. I like
Pain
like
and
Mark.
Gain for sure, right?
What's that?
Pain and Gain, the bodybuilder one.
I turned that movie off.
Didn't like it?
I hated that movie.
Interesting.
Something about it drove me nuts. I
Because
turned
you
it
know
off.
the details too much about.
No, I don't even know the details. I looked them up afterwards,
Right.
but I was just like, this is cheesy. This is dumb. Like, I'm turning it off. Like.
So what movies do you like from him? Like Lone Survivor?
Yeah. I love the one
Can
with
you get up Mark Wahlberg movies?
him and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Him and Leo.
Him, Leo, and well, he's a small role in it, and Matt Damon.
Is that
where they're the police
not the one
officer
with Ben
one.
Affleck?
Oh wait, everyone dies.
Oh
at the end?
yeah, you're talking
Yeah.
about fuck. We're gonna get crucified on this.
I
podcast for
know.
not
Why
knowing
am I?
this.
Why is this
This is
not
a big
coming
movie
up?
as well. It's like
The
top,
Departed.
The
Departed.
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Nice.
That is a good movie.
I love The Departed. One of my top 10s for
Sick
sure.
movie.
Shooter was good. Not my favorite of his. I'm trying to.
Shooter was
think.
good for that time. There weren't a
The
lot of.
Italian Job is don't
Yeah.
sleep on the Italian Job.
Yeah.
But
he's done a
I'm
lot
trying
of
to think
movies.
of what else. Oh, Four Brothers. Can we?
That was good.
I love Four Brothers.
That was good. Yeah.
Big fan of.
Fuck. I feel like you and me have seen all the same Mark Wahlberg movies. As well. Pretty much anything he brings out, I pretty much watch it.
The Fighter was
Good or
great.
bad?
Patriots Day was pretty good.
sick.
Patriots Day
that's
was good. Yeah. No, I'm a big Mark Wahlberg fan, and he actually had one of my soldier shirts on back in the day, which makes me like him
That's
more.
sick.
Like
That is sick.
back in the day,
congrats, man.
he was photographed
That's how
wearing.
you made it.
I was like,
Did you Photoshop it?
I didn't. It was sent to me. I don't know if I have it, but I should probably see if I can round that up.
So you mentioned you like his movies, but you were going to comment on him as a person. No.
I like him. I think I don't know enough about him.
Yeah, of course,
I know
but
he
just
has
from what you see and understand.
He has F-45. I think
Yeah.
he's done a good job of, but I think he's also like family oriented, from Boston, so he's gonna definitely tell you how he feels. But I think all in all, I give him he's an 8 out of 10 guy to me.
Why is it a 10?
There's very few people would be 10 out of 10s. I don't
okay.
think there's a person walking the planet right now.
Why is it on 9 then? Who's a 9? Like a Rock?
No, The Rock's probably 6 out of 10. I'm not a
okay.
big Rock fan, to be
Okay.
honest.
Interesting.
I know. I just think, The Rock didn't have Joe Rogan's back on when that whole thing went down. I just thought it was kind of a fair weather fan type thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He didn't back him. Oh, shit.
Did you guys not get that? You see, you guys aren't
Was
on
he
our
like-
Twitters.
Was he gonna go on the show and then he's like, I pulled it, or he?
Well,
like,
and even just like when that all was happening, like
Was this the thing with the N-word?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
he kind of like basically bowed to
Right.
the crowd and was
Right.
like, oh yeah, that was like
That is weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really appreciate.
So he lost
that.
a lot of points then for you.
Well, not just that his acting isn't my favorite either.
Yeah, it's not great.
How about
Wahlberg's
for
a
you?
way better actor.
Yeah, I think Mark Wahlberg is a better actor.
yeah,
way
cool.
better
He's-
To be
actor.
honest,
yeah,
the best actor that's came
No.
out of the wrestling scene. Who do you guys think it is?
Don't say John Cena.
Not John
No, it's-
Cena.
it's
Oh no, it's
Batista.
Batista.
My man.
I don't know
He
who
is
it is.
fucking
Batista's
good now.
a
Did you see
good
it in
actor.
June?
Yes.
Dude.
I mean,
watched that
it's
3 times, that movie.
Dune's a great flick. Very
watched it 3
underrated in my opinion because the cinematography in it
Underrated?
is great. Not that many people talked about it.
No, are you serious? All I spoke about for a month was June. I was like, you want to go see June?
It was
with me? I'll
great.
watch
I thought it
again.
was a little bit slow in certain parts, but like it was building. I'm excited for the next one.
Nah, it wasn't slow. I think it was fucking a
I
master.
think that
it was a masterpiece.
I
that
agree.
movie.
Like that was my favorite movie of the year.
Mm.
So I just think it didn't get as much love because I liked it so much. I thought other people should have been talking
All right,
about it more.
now we're exploring this topic. I have some more questions for Steve. Favorite hip hop artist? Are you a hip hop fan?
yeah.
Yeah.
Growing up, not so much anymore. But
Okay. So Eminem,
no, probably
Kanye,
No, I'm not a big Kanye fan either. I'm more of old school.
Tupac.
Like, I love Tupac.
Do you like Tupac or Biggie?
Tupac guy. So
It's just a shame. Only the Jordan LeBron thing so far, but
let's just go there since we're there. My thing with LeBron, I've already admitted that he's best athlete.
yeah, for sure.
LeBron,
well, no one's denying that.
LeBron doesn't have. Did you watch The Last Dance?
I did.
LeBron doesn't have that X factor that he would do anything it takes to win. LeBron James is third behind, in my opinion, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan with who I want out of my generation, who I've seen, in closing a series out. I would take Kobe over LeBron as well when it comes to cut your heart out competitors. And I think at the end of the day, like MJ, even when you look at stats, much better at closing people out. Like MJ would find a way to win, whereas LeBron, he lives in a different era where you want to be buddy with everyone you're playing with. Like MJ did
This
it.
man's been listening too much Stephen A. Smith.
MJ did it with one team, and he took a break at the prime to go play baseball. And there's some other things going on. If he would have stuck around, we wouldn't even be having a debate. He played in so many less games than LeBron.
No, but it's only one season. Or it's 2 seasons. The season he missed, and then the
But
season.
when you look at overall games,
yeah,
you have to compare overall games.
yeah, well, he basically missed 75 games.
But LeBron's already played way more games than Michael did in his
Yeah.
career. So what I'm saying now
But that
is
in itself is a stat.
But to me, it's not you can't compare the two. MJ couldn't come into the NBA when LeBron did.
No, yeah, okay.
And you don't have modern medicine that LeBron has
I agree.
to
Look,
stay.
So my comment on this is like, I think what makes a GOAT in a sport is like how, like more than stats or anything, is I really believe it's how it makes you feel as a fan or as an audience or as a spectator of the sport. And like, I know that sounds weird because like obviously stats play a part, and I don't discredit stats, but I think like loving so much sport and watching so much sport like my whole life and growing up around it and playing it, like for me, a GOAT obviously has to be like in the question. You can't just pick some random person that made you feel good on a day and be like, that's the GOAT. Of the GOATs you're talking about and the comparisons you're making, it's like, how does that person make you feel? How does he affect the game? How does he affect the culture and the audience?
It's a very personal thing.
Yeah, but also like, I think there's like it makes you feel that way because it's making everyone else feel that way. You're not the only person that feels like that.
I love where you're going with this.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's a difference between Americans and Australians. Americans are obsessed with stats.
No,
but what happened to the game of basketball when Michael Jordan was the man he was?
Right.
Is 10 times what happened for the game of basketball when LeBron James was at his height.
So to my point is that I wasn't around watching basketball when Jordan played the game.
Right.
So I have no idea how it affected me.
All you need to do is watch the Dream Team Olympics and what it did worldwide, why the NBA is in China, why the NBA is the NBA now, and you have people like the Greek Freak coming from all around the world is because of Michael Jordan, is because he went with that Dream Team to places, Barcelona, and they became the most. No, that was preseason. It was in Barcelona.
Oh, they played in season.
No. So in Paris was the warm up games for Barcelona.
Oh, okay.
So Barcelona is where the actual Dream Team. That was where the Olympics
where
happened.
the Olympics was. Yep.
What MJ and the Dream Team did for basketball, there's been nothing ever even close to it in anything modern day. Like LeBron James, and
no,
that's
there is. I'm going to give you an example, right? Because I had this conversation for about 6 hours on Sunday, so it's fresh in my head. I can't make the comparison because I don't know. I didn't live through the Jordan,
and that's why I'm telling you.
Yeah. But equally, I'm not like going to agree with you because I would have to be there. So I don't think I can ever know the answer to that, is what I'm saying, because I didn't live through both. But what I did live through is I lived through someone who changed the sport of MMA and how he made everyone feel at the time and how everyone knows him and what he did for the sport. And that's Conor McGregor. There's never been a person like McGregor. I lived through both. I lived through the GSP, the Anderson Silvers. I lived through all those superstars. And then when McGregor hit, it just hit different. And everyone tells you that time in MMA when McGregor was coming up, there was excitement around the sport. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it now. Like, I was so excited for those fights that like words can't even explain. I would watch the embedded videos of him just talking for 4 seconds 100 times. And that's all anyone talked about. And I think that until there's like, so people might say, who's the GOAT in the future? Was it Israel, or was it like Israel Adesanya, or was it Conor McGregor, right? As an example, I'm like, you can only make that judgment if you live through both. Djokovic or Federer. I've lived through both. Federer.
But wait, you just said you can only make that judgment if you live through both.
Yeah,
so you're saying
eras.
You can't make a LeBron Jordan.
But I'm just
But when you look at the people that have lived through both, what do you think they're saying?
Back yourself in the corner here, bro.
That's true. Oh, yeah, that's true.
I'm saying 90% of the people I know that have watched both all say Jordan.
We need to put this on the story or something. Get this vote in ASAP. If you are over 35.
Yes. If you are, I would love that story. If you were over, we can even.
But that's a good point. I'll give you that. That's a great point. And like I think, that's definitely indicating to what could be the right.
But I also think it's a good indicator when you have someone like LeBron James redoing Space Jam. When you have LeBron, like nobody's done for basketball. LeBron's brand isn't anywhere near the Jordan brand. So I agree with what you're saying, is like how it made people feel. The songs about Michael Jordan, like I Want to Be Like Mike, like it was the golden era of basketball because of the feel that was around at that time. And now we have a legacy of shoes that get re-released every year and get sold out like that because of it.
Yeah, well,
I've never owned a pair of LeBrons. I own a lot of pair of Jordans. And not to say that I wouldn't. I like LeBron's shoes. They're like Tinker Hatfield and everything that goes on with that. Like it's such a rich tradition.
Yeah, look, I think with that logic, I think you could be right, but I just will never know. No comment. Move on. All right, so we got to get into the gym fashion tips. So if anyone is someone to point to, it's like, who's like the best guy in the industry to ask for like the best tasting protein? Probably be Steve Cook, right? He's fucking with Optimum Nutrition, or was back then. He's got his own supplement line now, so it's like, dude knows supplements. Same with fashion. You were like, were you first Gymshark ambassador?
I was one of the first. I wasn't there. No, I came on when Gymshark had, I think, 11 staff members. Like
11 staff members.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
You know, like how much Gymsharks grow. Just
Was he on your list of like dream ambassadors? Do you think when he first started?
me?
Yeah.
Gymshark wasn't even around.
No, I mean, I'm saying when they were like, who do we want to get? We want to get Steve.
They approached me 2 different times, and I was
Yeah.
like, guys, I can't. Like the cheesy shark, buff shark can't do it. Then they came back and had the logo changed. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. And at the time, you know, they weren't trying to, like I said, they weren't trying to go after big bodybuilders. They loved the fact that I was a YouTuber, and I do feel like I was kind of at a peak during that era. And so it was a great fit, but you know, it was crazy how small the team was at the time. I think they maybe had 3 or 4. I definitely had the most YouTube followers of anyone on the team.
So, and then now you still in fashion business wise, you have like your company.
And you're still with Gymshark, right?
Yeah. I have a line that I release with them every single year.
Yeah. So like, you obviously care about fashion. I'm making the point here. You
Yeah.
know, you obviously matters to you, right? It's well dressed now. So like what, well, I'll give my fashion tip and then you can comment on it, but I would like to get your general sense of where you feel like gym fashion, kind of, I guess we know where it is, but like, where do you think it's going to go? Because like, obviously for a long time, I feel like it got tighter and smaller in many ways.
Yes.
And like, I'm like, okay, but where does it go from here? Because it started really baggy and loose, and then it got tight fitting and less. It's like, okay, but where should it go next, or should it change? But my fashion tip is, I actually gave it last week, but I really just want to say it again and see what your take is on it. But they've got the singlet, the traditional singlet. Was someone wearing one before? I feel like I saw someone.
I walked in with a singlet.
Okay, yeah, the singlet, and then the tank, right? Is that what you call them in America? The two differences. One looks like a shirt with cut off sleeves, and the other's like a proper singlet.
Okay.
I feel like the singlet was really big for a bit, then it switched in the last sort of like 3-4 years. The tank got really big.
Yeah.
And then now I feel like it's starting to switch back.
Is the singlet coming back?
Okay, well, I guess there's your answer.
Well, no, I mean, it depends
it
on the type of singlet we're talking about too. Like
not a stringlet.
Okay.
Can you pull up the Rec Gen singlet?
And that was where like the really thin, where it kind of oscillated over your nipples.
No. God, fuck.
When I was in Florida,
it looked like someone tried to rip your shirt off.
Yeah.
The was massive.
Hopefully we get a good model pic here, but there's like like that.
What is that?
Singlet.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, like that to me is when you were saying singlet, I was thinking
OG
stringer.
Gymshark?
I was thinking stringer.
No, I'm just talking about like
the
thin parts, like a basketball jersey, right? That same cut, like the lower chest cut.
Yeah.
Versus like the tank where it's like cut all the way up to the neck and it looks like the sleeves just got cut off.
To be honest, right now I'm a big fan of more old school cotton blend tanks that are cut off. So going back more, instead of having this high performance stuff, going more of like I love that. I love that actually. It looks like he cut the sleeves off that himself.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, so you vibe on that more.
I vibe on
singlet.
that.
Yeah.
The singlet I like is more of a performance look to me. It's like something that like if I'm going out for a run or something, I'm probably going to wear something that's a little bit more tight fitting. If I'm doing a lot more functional movements.
So I mean like purely in a gym context. I'm not talking about going to a cafe or anything.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking?
We're talking pure gym. Okay.
Yeah, gym fashion.
Yeah.
Not
let's go
fashion
up here.
Fashion. So like if you're,
I like both of those looks.
You like both.
I have to choose one though.
No, I'm asking you if you think like I thought it was off that for a while and like the tank was really big because it hadn't been done. So everyone's like, cool, let's cut the sleeves off, let's do tanks. But then I feel like this is making a bit of a resurgence. This model is particularly not jacked and like doesn't fit it as well, I think. But
do you like a baggier tank or are you more of a slim fit tank?
No, I think that is quite good.
I think that's the difference I was going to point out.
Right.
Is the previous tank was a lot tighter.
Like the wife beater.
Yep. Yeah. Now we're and even you know the material it was made out of. Now we have more of a loose fitting. I was in Lulu the other day just browsing and saw one that was a loose fitting. Then I was like, okay, actually I haven't seen a tank like that in a while, and it looked good.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think the loose fitting singlet.
Yep.
Although I think this guy needs to probably lift a bit more, but the sad thing is I probably look like that. Is like the new fit. I think that's a great fit. Actually going better.
But you're saying you're going back to like the old material, the ones where you like actually feel the sweat and your shirt is drenched.
When it comes to fashion sense stuff, I do like that. I think it just kind of there's a edginess about it. You can get too like I think for a long time we went so I don't know what's the tech fabric that it was like. everything, the undershorts were slippery, the pants were slippery, the top was slippery, and it was like it became a little bit too I don't know, not futuristic looking, but it became too fake looking. Everything was a blend of something, and it's like there's still I love something about like going out with sweats and a cut off just cotton tank.
Feels like actual clothes.
Yeah.
No, I get it. It makes sense. So the future of the fitness, like call it the Gymshark sort of space. Yeah. There's obviously a lot of copycats out there, and not in a bad way, but just like Gymshark obviously set the standard. Then all these independent brands like, let's try and do something like this. Do you think it's going in the right direction? Do you like where it's going, or do you think it needs a bit of a change up? Or
I think now with Gymshark especially, I think Gymshark really started out as a brand that wasn't necessarily the best at clothing. They were the best at marketing. They got it, and they brought on a lot of great athletes, and then they were playing catch up with all of their different tech packages, and where they started really excelling was the women's line. They got a lot of those leggings right. The women loved it. It grew, and I think now they realize like, hey, we want to take guy stuff up a notch, and I think that it's it's a tough business to be in. Like, I don't know. Besides Gymshark, who do you guys look to for gym wear? Like, I personally never really wore a Nike. Like, if I was wearing basketball shoes, yes. Basketball clothing, yes. But like, if I was going to the gym, it wasn't necessarily about Nike for me. So
it's not the right fit.
Yeah, and that's really where I kind of, gym clothes should be more about the fit than the look, or than the material necessarily.
Stuff, I think that's just a rule, like a rule in fashion in general. Like, I would rather never wear a color or a logo again and have it fit properly and look a certain way than care about what's printed on it, what the name is, like what the fabric is, because I think fit is like, it's fit first.
Yep.
Yeah. Fit is the most important thing.
I love the shorter shorts. I've been preaching those for a long time. We're starting, it's crazy when you see basketball players rolling up their tops to get a little bit shorter. I think that'll be around maybe for another year or two, and then we'll start.
Oh, the high waist?
Well, no, I'm saying like the mid-length, Gymshark started doing runners, like the shorter short, I think has always been a little bit more popular here in Australia just because of the rugby culture.
Yeah.
Like in the US when I was in high school and stuff, even the next, it was like you wanted knee length.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
Below the knee.
Oh yeah. Like when LeBron was in high school,
it
was here.
Yeah. Elon Iverson set that trend.
Yeah, exactly. And then now we're seeing kind of it come up, and I think we're kind of at the peak right now of like the height
come up.
Yes,
and it can't keep going.
No, it really can't. So I think it'll be there for a while.
Come out. Yeah,
but we're already starting to see like the baggy, wider pant bottoms coming back.
The basketball
right now.
Shorts coming back in a fashionable way.
Yeah. And so like I don't know, it'll be interesting. I love a mesh 5-inch and a sweat short 5-inch just to lounge in. Like, I'm a big fan of shorter shorts. So.
And are you like a linings guy? Do you like the linings in your shorts?
I don't.
No, me neither.
Yeah, that was the big thing with my Gymshark line. Will you even put in
yours?
Yeah, Strength Collective.
Gymshark, Steve Cook, Strength Collective.
Why do you? Because I have my own reasons. I can never wear mesh because it gets ripped. Is your thigh and ass too big to have inner linings in your shorts?
Oh no! Like wait, sorry, say that again.
Like whenever I get Lulu pants with lining, right? Inside just gets ripped and torn apart.
I just don't like how it's messy, and then also like not every guy's legs are the same, or their even their crotch length and things like that. So it's like, let me wear the linings where I want to put them rather than having attached to the shorts, which means you have to pull the shorts up if you pull the lining up. So this is the line. So all of those linings underneath were separate.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I got you.
So, what is your involvement in this process? Like, do you just tick off and approve it? Like, I always imagine.
No. Like, I go comp shopping. So, like,
what's that mean?
I go out there and I look. Like, I'm constantly saving things.
Yeah.
Like, I like this, so I'll go out and comp shop, not just fitness stuff, but I'll look at what's coming out in like high end John Elliott or whatever it is.
What's John Elliott?
Just a brand out there that is a high end.
Or like a Gucci or something.
Yeah, it's more new. Like it's
like Daniel
more,
Patrick.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like Daniel Patrick, John Elliott, stuff that is kind of hybrid between not athleisure quite, but could be worn as that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because that's kind of where eventually the gym space goes. So I'll do a bunch of comp shopping, and then it's like a 7th-month process of materials, picking out the right materials.
Oh, you're involved in material selection?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Because I
so
love...
you're basically designing the whole thing.
Everything.
Yeah, right.
Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to wear it. Everything was designed with a purpose. Like the logo on the compression shorts underneath was just sticking out enough to where you could still see it with the shorts. Like I wanted the compression shorts to stick out the bottom about 2 inches.
You're not big on color?
I love black and white and then splashes of color.
Yeah, I love it.
So like I'm
Dude, he should be yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, to me it's like you can't go wrong with, and you can get to some grays in there and things like that. But predominantly, I'm wearing black 70% of the time to the gym.
Dude, are we not giving the exact same fashion tips I gave the last 3-4 weeks?
Yeah, there's that outfit in the middle. Like that middle outfit is what I would wear, to the gym often.
Dude, all black is just. It's
very Melbourne though, isn't it?
Yeah,
isn't that
but
a very Melbourne vibe?
It's undeniable. Yeah, but you got to remember, people in Sydney don't know shit about fashion, right? So whatever's trending in Sydney is generally bad fashion.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, this looks really good. I'm like, yeah, if you're fashion retarded, go to Melbourne, and they'll make fun of you. And you'll go to Melbourne, you'll be like, everyone dresses weird here. It's like, no, this is what dressing well looks like. It's kind of like, it's too hot here. It's too hot.
That's kind of like New York. That is the tough thing about, like, when you go to London, you get some great fashion stuff as well, but you could never wear that stuff, day in and day out in Australia.
One brand you'll really like, you should take a note, is Earl's Collection.
Earl's Collection.
Yeah, you'll love it. Yeah. Gotcha. It's like the Aussie Daniel Patrick. It's like just started, all their shit sells out.
Oh, nice.
Do you have any Earls in here at the moment? There's got to be some Earls floating around. I think we've got some on the rack there. But they're great. Yeah, you'd love their stuff. So
that was one of my favorite things about traveling when I was, going to expos and things like that. Oh, I love those shorts there. Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, so
he like the old school basketball shorts.
He's like known for his shorts, right? But then he makes like a different version of the exact same short.
Oh yeah,
every
these are epic. This looks a lot like John Elliott stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
I'm gonna have to pick up those there to go with this shirt.
Yeah, he's local, so like he lives around here.
That's epic.
I just steal it and make it the Steve Cook collection. Just change that Earls to Steve.
I mean, to be honest, I feel like I've seen obviously he's gotten some inspiration.
Yeah. There's so many versions of this. Yeah, for sure. That's what I said. He's the Aussie Daniel Patrick.
Yeah. And that is one of the cool things about traveling. I loved when I first started coming to Australia, it was the drop crotch Xanarobe. Do you guys remember those?
Yeah, so that RecGen, that singlet company we were looking at before, same company.
Ah.
Xanarobe's pivoted.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden in America, 2 years later, we were seeing some drop crotch.
The chinos?
Yeah. Drop crotch wasn't massive in the US until after that. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay. And even the curved shirts, like there were super long ones.
Yeah.
The deep
the
V.
tall tee. Oh my God.
That hit Australia first before it ever hit the US.
Really?
So,
we got that first, the tall tee. Yeah, right.
I feel like Alpha Elite did that huge. I remember back in the day, Christian Guzman.
Yeah.
He really pioneered that.
On the tall tee.
Yeah.
Christian did.
With the curved bottom and the ruffled up tee.
Man, he's been what do you think of him?
I like Guzman. Guzman's a hard worker.
Dude.
He was with Gymshark when I first started with Gymshark.
Yeah.
And so, we knew
but
each other.
hustler.
Yeah. I respect that guy a whole lot for sure.
Have you guys done much content together? Have you met
Yeah,
up
we've
much?
collabed a little bit. It kind of got weird, I think, with Alpha Elite and stuff right after, but then I think it kind of calmed down and
everyone's making money. Everyone's good. So
Yeah. And I think he's good people for sure.
Yeah,
he's done a good job to of surrounding himself with people that push him, but also help him go further than he would just by himself. I feel like he's got a good crew.
Well, I'm curious to know. I was going to say we'll wrap, but actually I don't think we'll wrap here. But what that lifestyle that you led for a little bit? I don't know how many, stable relationships or what have you had in the influencer peak. I feel like you're kind of past that now. You've got your own life, you're getting married, that sort of stuff. But in that heyday when you're they call it clout, right? Obviously when you have the Instagram fame, right?
The
new fame.
Yeah, when you're coming in and there's not many people with 1 million followers and you have 1 million. Now everyone's got 1 million followers, it seems like.
Right, but now, were there any, I'm sure you had your ups and downs in that period, but navigating that, was that always because I imagine for some people, they just lose their head in that space, right? They just either they party too much or they spend too much money or they get into the wrong circles. And obviously guys like yourself and Christian navigated it pretty well, I feel.
Yeah, I think the only reason I probably did is because I have a big family that they always were like, what do you do again? My sister had her doctorate. These were people I feel like that were successful in traditional senses. So it was you post with your shirt off? That's weird. Like, it was never a big thing. It was never like, yeah, it was always very like, my family's always very good about humbling. And I think then it's also like, you have to have a moral compass at the end of the day. What is it that you keep coming back to, that no matter how much money you have or whatever, like, what is it that is your kind of North Star? And for me, it was I never, like, I remember partying maybe the first 2 expos, because everywhere I went, whether it was China or India or Australia, it was always different Optimum Nutrition teams. Like, you have different teams that run each country.
Okay.
And it's their biggest event of the year. So we come to Australia and we do this expo.
Yeah.
And now it's like all of these Australian athletes are there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like afterwards, everyone would party.
Mm-hmm.
And I was an athlete that I was traveling around to kind of all of them.
How often were they? Once a month or something?
Yeah, sometimes it was once a month, but it was about 12 a year. So about one every month.
That's a lot of parties.
Spain. And so real quick, I was like, I can't live a healthy, fit lifestyle if I am going out and just getting shit-faced for 2 nights in a row at each and every, like, how am I going to be the next day on the stand? Yeah. So I just treated it as a job. Like, I went from waiting tables at Texas Roadhouse to getting an opportunity to travel the world with Optimum Nutrition. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going back to that. So I want to make sure that I'm not just, this isn't the end for me. It's like, I'm not here to party because like, oh, we've made it. No, this is just part of a stepping stone on getting to ultimately where we want to be.
You realized that very early on, like from wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I did, because I was amazing. Like, I think it was more.
Were you older?
Yeah, I was 25. So if I was 24, 25. If I would have been 21, but like for me too, like I think it also goes back to I never liked, like, being drunk never was it for me. I didn't like the feeling of being out of control of my actions and body and things like that. But it was more like the next day I wouldn't be able to wake up and train, and that was kind of my life. But it was like I wanted more of the good things that were coming to me, and partying wasn't bringing good things coming to me.
Right.
I can only imagine, if you're a DJ and partying is like your life, like that would be really hard. It's like, your job is to keep people up until 2 or 3 in the morning with your music, and like that would have been, I always wonder how DJs make life, their personal life,
how they
work.
survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's good to hear you say that like you knew pretty early on, or you got the feeling at least, the inkling that it wouldn't be helpful to the path you wanted to head towards.
You had the bodybuilder discipline came through with you.
Yeah. And again, it was, for me, it was like, this was a job. I was like, I can either keep on doing this and it's fun, or I can piss it away, party, be shit on the stand the next day with people coming up and wanting to talk. And I was like, but if I do that for long enough, I'm not going to be on this, being paid to travel the world. So. And
did you feel like at some point you've kind of missed that period, or did you get it at like there's always the people started work really early, they became a professional athlete or whatever, we started business really early. You missed the natural course of, like, I wouldn't say partying necessarily, because I don't think it's necessarily a good thing. I think, dipped in now and then, I think it's healthy and important. But typically for most people from 18 to fucking 26, 27, they just party every weekend, right?
Yeah, I just think it's different too for different people. Some people I know, like everyone in my family, probably drink, for special occasions, but none of them were big partiers. And I don't know if that's just because we didn't see mom and dad ever party, but like every time I've gone off and partied, like I've never been like, oh, I want to do that. Like, it's always been like, I don't want to do that for like another 6 months. And so I just think it's naturally who I am as a person. For me, it was I think, the hard thing is having, it was like, okay, you're going to all these different places, you're around beautiful girls and things like that. And for me, it was always like, okay, if I'm going to have a relationship and do that, like, I think that was kind of the part where I was always in serious relationships, more or less, that I didn't get maybe like going out with more girls. Like that was kind of the part that I think that I didn't do maybe enough of early on in my career. Like, I always had a serious long-term girlfriend, and I think that I probably should have been single. I probably wasn't ready for that. Those long-term relationships early on. Yeah, I don't know if anyone is, but if you want to make it work, you make it work, right? Yeah,
so,
and I think it's timing and then the right people. It's like it's crazy, but I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, I've dated a lot of girls in the fitness industry. It's just kind of like, because that was what I was around.
But your fiance, she's from the fitness industry.
Yeah,
right?
she's the thing I love about her. She's not from the competitive world. She's never competed. Yeah. She doesn't know. She's never counted a macro in her life.
Yeah.
she comes from gymnastics.
Yeah.
So she was an athlete at a very high level in Australia. And
how old is she?
25. So she's young.
Okay. Yeah.
But she's just a freak athlete that
Yeah.
like, I'm like, you know, we'll do something like I'll box jump, turn around. She's done it. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Now, yeah, because my girlfriend as well is ex-gymnast.
Yeah.
And she same thing when we did some CrossFit together.
Yeah.
Destroyed me.
Just body awareness.
Destroyed me.
And overall, like, yeah, of course in CrossFit too, when you
Yeah.
start throwing in some gymnastics movements. But
Did she always just like do handstands and stuff?
oh yeah. So that's kind of what Morgan, like, so much of her following is from. She holds handstand seminars. So just the things she does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, then maybe Ev knows her.
Yeah.
'Cause she has an adult gymnastics gym. Just
Oh
like
yeah.
25
I'm
minutes.
sure.
away.
Yeah. I'm sure Morgan would
Maybe
know
they know
her
each other.
probably as well. Just small world.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, Steve, we've got one more thing for you.
Okay.
I'm glad you like fashion. I'm glad you like Jordans because we've got a gift for you to remember.
Oh, this is the shoe
Imagine if
size.
LeBron shoes, how awkward that would be.
This is from so good friends of ours, the Vault.
The Vault.
AU. So they've got a warehouse. Where's their warehouse?
Alexandria.
All right, it's got a showroom now as well.
Is that is the grounds near
Actually,
Alexandria?
yes.
Yeah, same
Right
place.
next
That place
to
is
it. Anyway,
great.
I'll let you do the opening. I don't want to open it for you, so here you
Whoa,
go.
we got some kicks here.
And,
so I am a huge. Whoa.
Hold on, before you open these.
Whoa.
Before you open these, how big is your collection?
You know, it was for a while there. It was like my addiction. Like when like off whites were big.
That means big.
Yeah, when off whites
How
were
many
big.
of the
Like
off-whites do you have?
4. Like
Fuck,
yeah.
Which
But
ones? You got the Air Force Ones?
The Vapor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have.
The Vaporfly?
Yep.
Yeah, they're the best.
And then I have
Air Force Ones?
no Air Force.
don't have the Air Force Ones?
Air Force Ones don't look good on me. I've just.
You know, they've got a thinner version of it now as well.
Do they?
Yeah, they got like the low version now.
Yeah,
I think that would suit you better.
Like the Dunks, I like the Dunks.
Yeah.
And then for a while there, I was on the Yeezy, like the Yeezy train.
Okay.
Early on, like the Yeezy
you don't like them
breads.
anymore?
They've just gotten too common.
Good call.
Yeah.
Good call, Connor.
Yeah. Were you
He
thinking-
picked these out for you.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's into
So
sneakers,
like I
so-
have like the clay Yeezys, and then the bread Yeezys, and then anyhow. But yeah, Jordans have always been my favorite. I've always been a Jordan 1
Cool.
person.
Oh,
Well, we
my
knew you
God.
liked Jordan
yeah,
as well. So.
I love Jordan 1s, and then the 11s would probably be my second
Alright, here we
favorite.
go.
And I saw on the side of the box.
Apologies to Brendan Shaw.
Oh, these are the shattered backboards, or similar to that.
Yeah, they're the Electros.
Oh, they
Yes.
match the beanie.
They
Yeah.
match the beanies so well. We gotta lace these up. Should I rock these?
You don't have
sweating
them?
it, Connor, when
What's
these
that?
are-
You don't have those.
I don't have those.
Alright,
You were
good.
sweating it when he opened that.
Yeah, I was,
You did so well, man.
I was like, I wonder if he likes orange.
These are sweet.
Because we're like, oh, maybe it's the same color as his gym. We're like, no, it's blue. Fuck.
You know what's crazy though is that I've been wanting to get a orange. So I've been looking at the shattered backboards, but I'm like, I think they're like 800.
Yeah,
So
expensive.
I'm like, I don't want to. I'm not going to drop that on shattered backboards. But these, I've been looking. I was actually looking at these, being like,
So you don't
kinda
have
like them? I don't.
You don't
no.
have these? Cool.
So, what do you think though? You think the orange laces in there or the white laces?
We go one each.
That's fun.
Yeah, one each is
So,
good.
I have the off-white Blazers.
Oh,
I have
nice.
I go one each on
Nice.
those,
Looks good.
Yeah, nice. Do you keep so for your off whites, you keep the red tag on, or you take it off?
I keep the red tag on
Okay.
because that is.
Tag on
I
guy.
mean, I
That's how you know it's off-white.
yeah, like that's the first way you know it's off. Obviously,
Yeah.
the writing kind of.
Mm.
But off-white, you know, I haven't bought any off-white shoes in a while. I started buying. My obsession with shoes turned to golf shoes.
Ah, okay, yeah,
During
because
the
they make
pan-
Jordans in golf shoes.
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's where it's like
Mm.
the Jordan lows, the
Do you
ones.
know a weightlifter called Sonny Webster?
Yeah.
Olympic weightlifter. Yeah, he's a good
Yes,
friend
I was
of
just in
ours.
Bali,
Okay.
and he hit me up.
Oh, you guys met up in Bali?
Oh, no, we were going to. I
okay.
ended up leaving too quickly, but
Okay.
he's in Bali, right?
Yeah. So no, he doesn't live there. He's just on holidays.
Oh, yeah,
He lives here.
He's British.
Yep.
But he's over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
he
I
lives
thought he
here.
lived in Bali for some reason.
No. He lives here in Sydney.
Yeah.
With his
Yeah.
partner's also Australian, and he's a good friend of ours. And,
What a freak.
But he loves golf.
Ah.
Yeah. So 3 of us should play golf. But he'll destroy us.
Is he good?
Man, he's fucking
What does he
good.
shoot?
I think he shoots. I think his best was he got down to like 4 when he was
Oh,
playing.
yeah.
When he was like a kid.
Yeah.
When he was like doing the academy and stuff. And now I think it's like, I don't know, 10 or 11. What do you
if I
shoot
have a
off?
great day. I'm about a 10.
Oh, okay.
So if I have a great day.
You're coming to have a laugh at me, but I'll watch you guys play.
That was my obsession during
Okay.
COVID. Being apart
Golf-
from Morgan.
golf shoes?
Golf in general.
Oh, okay.
Like I was playing 3 times a week, practicing
Oh, wow.
like twice.
Do you have a
like-
coach?
He's in Australia actually.
Oh, okay.
So he's up on the Gold Coast. I've only had 2 lessons with him now, and then about like 5 online. So
don't you think golf is such a cool sport where immediately you have like a universal scale where you can say like kind of like weightlifting, like what's your snatch or your bench or something, where you can just be like, I shoot off that, and you straight away know exactly how good someone is. Like, what other sport can you do that with?
And golf is truly like you can go on holiday and just I'm gonna go golf. And like in most nice places in the world, there's an amazing golf course. It's like, to me, it's the ultimate. Like if I could go back and do anything different from my childhood, I'd be like, Dad, I want to play golf often. Like, could you imagine going to college, getting paid to go to college on a golf scholarship? And then like even like Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods, these guys are playing, they're 50 years old, still making $15 million a year. And it's there's zero risk of like brain injury. And it's like, okay, you might hurt your lower back, or you might have a bum knee from it a little bit, but it's like that's what people do for their retirement. And these guys are just doing it. I'm like, I missed the ball with golf as a kid.
But you would look very different.
Yeah. If I was making $15 million a year. Tiger Woods though was jacked in his heyday.
No, they're jacked now, these golfers.
A lot of them are. Bryson DeChambeau, when we worked out, like he was in shape. Like I would
McIlroy's
too much muscles.
McIlroy's really jacked. Yeah, he's strong. Steve, I don't know what you were expecting from this podcast, but it's been a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah.
Hope you had fun. So Steve on the My Musk project has got a pair of kicks to leave with.
I appreciate this.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And thanks to the Vault for sending those to us.
Yes, thank you, Vault.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll have another big guest on next week.
Sweet.